Right, thanks very much, Paul. Usual shout outs to Tim Alloy, a Glasgow Green, Richie and his family, obviously Campsie boy, who recently lost his mum, and B John United Ireland. Oh, well, I'm going to do the Foodbank bit, Paul. Right, this is our fifth year of collecting money to help out the Hamilton Food Bank over Christmas. We've collected over £7,000 in that time. This year we're already up at 1,160. If you can afford to donate anything, the address is www.justgiving.com/crowdfunding/Celtic Rumours 5, and the link for that will be down in the description box below, along with links to all our platforms, the forum, our Discord, etc. We're also running a bonus ball competition to win a framed Billy McNeil picture and a Lubo DVD that John United Ireland been out and bought. He's also, Paul, where they're saying they can't hear you. No. Try and reset your mic or that, Paul. Is that any better? Right, no bother. And we've also got 2 tickets for the Hibs game at Celtic Park on the 29th. They'll be raffling off. We'll be raffling off. So it's a £5 a ticket for the bonus ball draw for the DVD and the picture, and it's a £10 a ticket for the 2 tickets for the Hibs game. And there's a description for that in the description. There's a link for all that in the description box below as well. Thanks very much. But at 511 subs here on YouTube, thanks very much for everybody that subbed to us, all the lads that joining in tonight. I see Terence is in waiting, he's coming on. The jabber of jobbies, it's just David Gallagher in as well. Really, you're all welcome. Thanks very much for coming on to help us out. Just if you have not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything and it helps us move up the algorithms. Hit this like button, the wee thumb at the bottom, and also if you know how, please leave a comment down below the video. Thanks very much. No, Paul, there's nothing even coming through for you on that. Right. Just maybe hang up on Skype, Paul, and I'll call you and call me back. But Terence, I'll just bring you on the new budget. That might see if that's going to make any difference to now. No. Right, I don't know, Paul. See if there's anything coming through yet. Oh, right, no bother. Yeah. Hello, Terence. I'm alright. How are you? Oh, I don't. I don't think that's coming through right either yet. Try that now, Turn, see if you see anything.
Yeah, anything there now?
I think that's it now. I think that might be how the wee. Is that it better, lads? It's showing up now that your mic input's showing up now, so it should be ready now, Paul.
I'll just get up the thing there, so.
It's showing up on my phone as well, Mark.
See, right, but Paul, there it's went to that Skpe screen again. I mean, we were talking about that the other day. Our graphics thing. Right, anyway, right, that's us sorted. On you go, Paul. Just go on with it, bud.
Celtic 2, Hibs 1, League Cup Final Day. The starting lineup was Hart, Jovanovic, Carter, Starfelt, Taylor, McGregor, Tomhill, Roderick, Abada, Janssen, Kyogo. Subs, Bain, Scales, Beaton, McCarthy, Shaw, Montgomery, Rallison, Welch and Morford. Terms, was there any kind of changes you would have done to this start lineup today, considering the game? We'll get more into the game later on.
The only one I was surprised with, Paul, was Ralston not starting. That was the big surprise for me. Other than that, pretty much the team nearly picks itself. Obviously, once Kyogo was fit, there was no one really for the left wing. So obviously Johnston played. And in fairness, I'm not his biggest fan, but he didn't play too badly today, to be fair to him. But Ralston would have been the only one that I was really surprised with. The rest of them, as I said, it kind of picks themselves, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mark, I think that just going by the first half, the 25th minute, Tomble goes off another injury, but it's just the intensity that Ange has the players on. These injuries are happening a lot at the moment, aren't they? Hamstring injuries, they're pulling up the players. Is that down to the lack of depth in the squad, Mark, that he doesn't have time to rest these players, and that's why they're picking up these injuries because of that as well?
Well, I think that might be part of it, Paul, because players aren't maybe getting as much rest time as they ideally would if they had a stronger squad or even a lot more players available. But I've said it before, but Angie said he's not going to change his way of training and the intensity of training and the intensity of playing. So it's just up to these players to get up to the level of fitness that they can do it. And, as you've said, get some more bodies in the door so that they're maybe not playing as regular. I felt hard sorry for Turnbull today, and I thought the television, the director or whatever it was, I thought they were a bit out of order, kept zooming into the young guy. He was sitting there. He was, I mean, he was visually upset that he came off and the camera kept zooming in on him. I didn't think that was very, very fair on him.
It's really the way football has gone, Mark. I mean, we saw the European Championships this year as well with Ericsson when the freaking cameras didn't stop rolling either.
That was disgusting, wasn't it? I mean,
they shouldn't really be going on to players, Mark, that are injured. You know what I mean? They should go to maybe co-commentary or something like that, like put the cameras on them.
The game was ongoing, Paul. So there was no reason to keep going. I mean, they done it maybe half a dozen times. They kept going back to Turnbull sitting. You know, I mean, as I said, the guy was sitting breaking his heart greeting because he would have happened to him.
Terence, the first half was like it was more kind of Celtic were in control. Like there wasn't kind of chances really for kind of both sides in that first half. It was the first half we expected. Like Celtic would come control the game, Hibs might sit back. You know.
Yeah, well, it was very much like that, Paul. I mean, Celtic had all the ball, but like in a lot of the games, they didn't really have a huge amount of clear-cut chances. I think Starfelt had a great chance from a corner. He made a pretty poor effort for a header. But like it wasn't really testing the Hibs keeper. Like loads of possession, loads of movement, loads of good passing, but just that final ball in, you know, we were certainly struggling. But it was, to me, it was chalk and cheese first half and second half. It was worlds apart the way the two sides played. But I definitely thought Celtic were very much in control in the first half, but at the same time, without really creating an awful lot of chances. I can't recall the Hibs keeper having too many saves to make in the first half of him, to be honest. You know what I mean? Nor Joe Hart, obviously, but I can't really. You know, it was just a lot of possession play more than creativity, to be honest.
Would you go along with that, Mark, with the first half? That it was kind of more Celtic in control and Hibs more or less kind of containing Celtic?
I agree with what Terence saying. We dominated, Paul, but we didn't really. We didn't make. It's a kind of story. A lot of our games really into. We're not kind of turning the domination into goals and things like that. I think the first half was a bit of a dead rubber game today, but the second half I thought both teams came out and played well. I really did.
Let's just move to the second half. It was the 50th minute, a corner. Starfelt loses his man. Another set piece. Celtic controls Terence, but when you're looking at it, like, you would nearly expect Joe Hart to come out for this ball as well, Terence, wouldn't you? You know, it was the same against Ross County. Could he have come out for that ball against Ross County as well?
I probably looking at it, Paul. The one in the Ross County is probably a better delivery, and maybe I was a bit harsh on him. I definitely said it. I said it on the live chat as well. Like, he definitely has to come for that ball because your man O'Halloran gets the run on Starfelt and he's not strong enough to block it. But I definitely think that Joe Hart should have come to compete with it, because the ball was in the air for a long time. It wasn't what the Ross County one was more whipped in. This was more, I won't say it was floated in, but it was certainly in the air for a long time. And I definitely thought Joe Hart should have, because when the guy's heading it, he's like he's at the edge of the 6-yard box, if not even in the 6-yard box. So I mean, you really would expect the keeper to come now. And I know, am I trying to be critical of Joe Hart because some of the saves he pulled off today were fantastic, but just in that moment, for that specific incident we're talking about, I do think that he could have come and challenged, because also I think if he does come and challenge like that, the defender's going to see him coming as well, and maybe the defender's going to not necessarily take his eye off the ball, but it might put a little bit of doubt in the defender as well coming for the header, like.
Especially too, Terence, when we know how brave Joe Hart is. Like, he puts his body on the line so many times. We saw against Ross County last week, he put his body in the line with two magnificent saves. You know what I mean? And he put his body in the line today with magnificent. Like, Hart is a big bloke. Like, you know what I mean? You know.
Oh, he's without a doubt. No. Is there, and I doubt there very much is, but is there an instruction from whoever powers to be that, listen, don't come flying off your line for crosses? I doubt it very much. He's 75.
Surely that's up to the keeper themselves to decide that.
You would imagine.
You know what I mean? Especially what we're saying. I've got that as well with looking at player range. I thought Hart could have done a lot better at their goal today, and I'm trying to think back. He's no. I know what you're saying, Paul. He used to be a bit more what you would say like commanding in his box. He's not really showed that for us when you think back to it.
Not in.
See, like, that ball
his career, Mark, and
even look at Fraser Foster coming for that ball that day. He'd have been. That was Fraser Foster's ball all day, every day.
I was looking back to some of his stats, and that came across one of his weaknesses. His corners and crosses. He doesn't seem to come from. And with Joe Hart being a big lad, you would expect that from him. Like, you know what I mean? You know. And
it's something, Paul, that he's maybe. I know he's old enough. He should, but it's something he's probably going to need to get a bit better at, even at his age, Paul. Because I mean, Carter Vickers and Starfelt aren't the most dominant in there.
No.
So you need that kind of keeper for me if you're playing with kind of smaller in height kind of centre backs.
And that's why, Mark, I said it. I know it doesn't make sense what I said, but that's why because you watch in a number of games where we have conceded from crosses. Sometimes the goal scorer is at the 6-yard box or inside the 6-yard box, and you kind of go, why didn't he come for it? I know there's going to be times if he comes and he misses and everyone goes, well, why did he come? But at the same time, if you stand on the line and continue to allow fellas to attack it from the 6-yard box and in, the chances of saving it are going to be so slim. It's going to be unbelievable.
And nine times out of 10, if there's any physical contact as well, Terence, it goes in favour of the goalkeeper.
Yeah, it's a free out. But as well too, Mark, I think that if a keeper's charging like that and the attacker's going in and he sees them, you're going to get attackers. They're going to have one eye on the keeper and one eye on the ball, because as you said, if the keeper makes any contact with them or clatters them, more times than not, it's going to go the way the goalkeeper. They're going to get a free out. As I said, very critical of Joe Hart in that instance. I don't mean to be, but other than that, like, he was fantastic again. Like, but it's just
It's
something
another-
that I've seen. Like,
It's another concern, though, Mark, isn't it? Like that, the only goals we seem to be conceding
It's
is
from
from
set
set
pieces.
pieces.
It really is.
It's continue now for a long time. Like you can't say it's down
Please,
to
well,
the
Paul. I know.
defence, Mark.
Well,
It's a
I know
whole new back line. Like,
that.
do you know what I mean?
I know the
You know?
Hibs boy done Starfelt with the goal, but so I
He
mean,
needs to be
Starfelt
stronger.
was marking him obviously, but it's still not clear whether we're actually using man marking or zonal marking, Paul. It seems It seems to be some kind of weird mix of the two. Just for,
Mix of the two, like, yeah.
for my point, I mean,
Some mark and some do zone kind of a thing like
maybe
that,
some
or
of the other
something like
guys
that.
are a wee bit
isn't
more noosed up on the
You know,
tactics, so know better than me. But it's
kind of
just
mixed up, like.
it's as if somebody's marking men, but other men are marking just areas, kind of thing. It definitely needs to be something.
Mark, that it wasn't one of Starfelt's best days in the Celtic jersey today, Mark? Did he
No.
lose the head of it, or was the occasion too big for him? Did the pressure get to him of the final, do you think? Because something happened to your heart there, Mark. Michael Stewart said that.
You said Joe Hart.
Yeah.
You said Joe Hart there, Paul.
Sorry,
Starfelt.
yeah. Michael Stewart said that. Does Starfelt not like being manhandled? And we saw that with Julian as well, that he doesn't like a physical player up against him.
I just think maybe just did a bad game, Paul. I mean, he's not put. I mean, for months,
for the foot wrong, Mark,
for
you know what I mean?
weeks, you know what I mean? Maybe maybe the occasion did get to him. Maybe it was nerves, but maybe he just did a bad game. It happens. I mean, I don't think you can write him off. I've seen messages already.
Not at all.
You've seen the social media.
No, like, that's what I'm saying. That's why I asked, like, did it pressure, like, you know what I mean? Because when he came in, Mark, people are writing him off, you know what I mean? And he's had a great run, and it's his first final for Celtic, like, you know what I mean?
Well,
and the pressure could get you then as well, Mark, do you know what I mean?
I mean, that stat you read out the other night, Paul, was it? You said it was something
48 out of 50 duels he won, yeah. 57 duels he won, yeah.
Like the amount of games, the amount of clean sheets we had that he played
since
in.
October, yeah. You know, but that's what I'm saying. Like I think it was more the occasion. Like, Mark, if you think of it, like, and Terence, I'll ask you the same question. Like for a lot of these boys, this is their first final in a Celtic shirt. Like, you have Ralston, practically his first final. Mickey Johnson was probably his first final in a shirt, Mark. Like Ivanovic, you know what I mean? You had a lot of. It's a new team, like, and it's of course the pressure is going to be on a Mark, considering such the rebuild that they have and how they come the last 6 months since Andrew's here. Some players have only been here 5 months or 4 months. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's a fantastic achievement, Paul, to win the first. I'm thinking on about the performances, individuals. I mean, for the state we were in. See the date came out. Eddie Howe wasn't coming here. It was to the state we were in at that point, to where we've come today, to win the first trophy of the season. We're still on the coattails in the league, and I'm delighted for that today. Really, what could we have? We couldn't have asked for anything more, Paul. Really,
the last cups we won. I'm not saying the league, no, just the domestic cups themselves. Like, this has to be one of the biggest achievements that Celtic have won, considering where we were 7 months ago. No manager, director of football, non-existent, or CEO walks out of the club. The club was in turmoil, and
players that had left. I mean, this is a brand new team. It really is.
You know.
Sorry, Paul, going there what Mark is saying. I know he's saying back as far as the start of the season. I'd go as far as to say even the Hearts game. If you looked at the difference from where we come from, even the Hearts game, the amount of guys that weren't even there that were on the pitch today after the Hearts game, it's a phenomenal achievement by Ange. It's absolutely unbelievable. I think there was no Joe Hart there. I don't think Kyogo was there. Starfelt was literally just in the door. Do you know, it's an unbelievable achievement to where he's come from, and that was like the first league game they were. And we were still all over the place at that stage, and he's transformed it from that to winning the first trophy of the season in no amount of time. and he's transformed the side. It's an unbelievable achievement.
Honestly, Terence, if somebody said to you we would win the League Cup, you would have been like, I can't see it. Really, wouldn't you have?
Can you it'd be kind of like too much too soon kind of a thing, Mark?
That was the kind of thing I would have thought. But as Terence says, it's some achievement.
If that was an Eddie Howe or someone that we had brought in, or a big name manager, people would be going do lally over him, going, "Oh, he's an unbelievable manager. He's top class." Like this, no one. It's Ange has done this. Like it's not an Eddie Howe. It's not a whoever you want to Benitez or whatever these other managers were linked. It's Ange has done that, and like for him to have done that and achieved what he's achieved, it's staggering. It's absolutely staggering. Like, to turn
some supporters
pressing that sneer at him, didn't they?
On Christmas, like, you know what I mean? You know?
Yeah. Look,
the press kind of sneered down their nose at Ange the same way they did with Ronnie. Make him as a kind of joke figure kind of thing.
He won't last till Christmas. Do you know what I mean?
But see, as we've seen for I mean, we know that it kind of got to Ronnie a bit, but Ange, you know, that's not going to happen. They can try all the mind games that they want, and that Ange is too long in the tooth to fall for things like that.
Mm-hmm.
He's a typical Australian though when it comes to that, Mark, because you sometimes, if you ever watch other sports and you see an Australian and they're interviewed, like a lot, they don't take any bull. In a lot of them don't when it comes to questions and things. And Ange, some of his answers that he's had in the interviews all through the season, like in October, saying, "Oh, I thought you told me the league was over," and just the way he's able to answer all the questions, he puts so many supporters back in the reporters back in their box.
It's a kind of Alex Ferguson, Mourinho type of kind of attitude towards the press, didn't he?
100%. And but he answers everything. It's the way he speaks. It's so professional. It's so good, and he must breed confidence into the players to have a guy like that. That's so like I imagine when he speaks, you listen. He gives off that aura of a kind of a guy that everyone around him, and like there's no doubt about it. Everyone has definitely kind of gone in behind, as say, the Ange ball, if you want to call it that. But like it's just everything about the man comes across so good. Like, you know what I mean?
Breeds, Terence, don't they? It's breeding into the team, like his positivity, his non-stop attitude is breeding into this.
It's breeding confidence and it's breeding everything. Yeah. Like even you see the interview after the match, like he's delighted he won it. His whole thing is it's brilliant. Okay, we need to move on to the next one. That's what he was basically saying. Like, and that's what you get from these top. That's what you get, as Mark said, from an Alex Ferguson kind of fella going, "Yeah, we were delighted we won. It's brilliant." But his mindset is already on. Okay, this is ticked off. I need to go again. We need to go again. Like, it's brilliant.
Mark, I suppose when the Hibs goal went in, I suppose every Celtic support was going, "Geez, here we go again, another set piece." But like a minute and a half, 2 minutes later, what a reaction by Celtic, Mark, and Kyogo again, Mark. He just shows, Mark, how important he is to this Celtic team, doesn't he?
Oh, there was different class today. He put in a lot of effort in the first half, but didn't really get much change. But in the second half, he ran that Hibs defence ragged, and his two goals were quality, real quality goals, especially the second one.
Second goal was like,
see the second goal,
Rogic, Mark. I mean, Rogic's quick thinking there, like the Hibs were asleep, and Kyogo do what he does best, running off the last man. They just couldn't keep up with him, Mark. There was no way that they were going to stop Kyogo there.
If somebody down in the pub league scoring that goal the day, Paul, they're raving about it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get what I mean? It would be
exactly.
Because it's. I mean, I worry about that happening to Hart because he spends so much time outside the area. Because I mean, I was never the most skillful player, but I know that's got to be one of the hardest things today to judge.
Mm-hmm. Like quick thinking, Mark. Like there was no stopping or thing. It was like willing instinct. Like that's knew what he was going to do. Like,
see, honestly, Paul, see if that was maybe like your run-of-the-mill Scottish striker, they're bringing the ball down and trying to beat the keeper. You get what I mean? They're bringing the ball down and taking it on to try and get round the keeper, or taking it down to get the shot away and things like that. But it shows you the quality that Kyogo's got. That's in he just that wee snap decision to just tap that over the keeper's head. Brilliant goal.
He's above the rest.
Yeah, I mean, what the keeper was like.
Yeah. You know,
He
it
already, he
just
already
shows
knew
the
where the keeper was.
class of him. Like,
But he knew where the keeper was. As soon as the ball's played, he's already had a look and he's seen the keeper. He didn't need a second look. He didn't, and like that goal was unbelievable. But the touch for the first goal is absolutely unbelievable. It's like, as Mark said, if you've seen a Ronaldo or Messi take a touch for the first goal and the touch and the finish, it'd be all over the news. The touch for the first goal from the ball from McGregor is just unbelievable touch. And it's
said after the match that if Kyogo only had one leg to play with today, there was no way he was going to be staying out of that final, Terence. You know?
Yeah.
There was no way. And I don't even think he was fully fit today, Kyogo.
No, he's not. I'll be honest, I was delighted. I was delighted when they did take him off, because you just didn't want him to.
Did Beaton say in his interview, Paul, I was reading it, Beaton didn't even think he would be playing the day. I think he kind of said that he was. I don't know if word for word, but Beaton says he didn't think he was going to be playing. I think he said he is still playing with a hamstring. And see, when he did go off, I seen somebody asking him, and you could see him kind of saying it's maybe a wee pinch on it or something. Like, did you see his kind of hand movements when the guy asked him? He was rubbing his leg, and it was like a wee kind of as if it's just a wee tinge. But he was running about like a real unit at the final whistle, Paul. So it didn't look. Do you get what I mean? His injury couldn't be that bad.
I don't think he'd have played if it wasn't the final.
Yeah, he would have been rested.
Maybe if it was just a league game, he'd maybe have been rested again. But I just thought it was. I put in the 2 goals. I really just, that's the kind of, it's the icing on the cake for the wee man already, isn't it? Because we've all fell in love with him.
He's different gravy. Like,
he is Terence, honestly. I think he could end up being up. No, I'm not going to say he's going to end up like Larsson, but it could end up as important to Celtic as a player like Larsson was. Because for me, that was a Larsson type of performance today. When we needed a player to step up and bang us a couple of goals, we could rely on Larsson to do it in cup
That's
finals.
what we didn't have, Mark, the last couple of seasons. Someone who...
We spark of magic, Paul.
Just step up out of nothing, do you know what I mean? That we needed a goal, or we needed something special.
And we've got a couple of players that they know that can do that, Paul.
Like Roderick's quick thinking there today, Mark, for that free kick, like, you know what I mean? You know?
I mean, Roygate, well, he's popped up with some important goals over the years, but he's adding some like consistency as well, although I thought he'd a quiet game today, but we've got, but if Yota's in that team, Yota's going to pop up with a bit of magic. You've got Kyogo. If we get the guys like that, Maida and that in, do you know what I mean? That's the kind of players people pay money to go and watch, Paul. Do you get what I mean? It's players that see even games people like, I'll no bother going to that game. It's a Wednesday night, it's freezing cold. If they're going and expecting Celtic to be pumping into attacking teams and pumping them, people will still go to the games, even the ones that they would give a buy kind of thing.
The 95th minute, I think we were all biting our nails, wanting Beaton to blow the whistle. But Terence, what you said there, that Joe Hart pulled off some good important saves there, but that was a crucial save he put off in the last practically kick of the game. Again, Joe Hart.
It was brilliant, but it's like what's at the opposite end of the pitch, Paul. Sometimes they're not asked to do a huge amount, but the quality is high in both ends. When they are asked to do it, 9 times out of 10 they perform. And like Joe Hart pulled off the save from Nisbet, and then he pulled off that save right at the death as well. And that's the quality. That's the quality that you have when you've got a guy like Joe Hart in goals, and a guy like Kyogo there. And he mightn't have had a huge amount of ball, but he has 2 unbelievable finishes. You watch Joe Hart, he mightn't have had a huge amount to do in the game, but the majority of times when he was asked to do it, to step up, he performed. And the save in the last minute in particular, it's a big player for a big occasion. And that's what he is. And he'd love that. And he proved why he's 75 caps for England and Premier League titles and all that. And he's proven it, and he's proven it all season with Celtic the way he's played. He's been an unbelievable signing for Celtic. And I think someone said it. You could have said it even in the last podcast, the way JFP, you had mentioned it there, Mark, the way JFP had said about McGregor last year being 20 points for Rangers in goals. Joe Hart is on a similar scale for Celtic. Like if that's with the greatest respect to Bain or Barkas or someone who maybe even Hazard in goals, the likelihood is one or two of those shots that the Nesbitt one or that one, they're being converted. You know, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to the other guys.
No.
Joe Hart's a different standard of goalkeeper altogether. You know, and it's big players for big moments, and that's what he is. And it was brilliant save.
Mark, Terence just kind of quoted you there as well. Like you've been saying that for weeks about Joe Hart, that he mightn't have a lot to do in games, and a lot of times this season, Mark, we've seen put off crucial saves when it's either in the last 10 minutes or it's drawn the game. When he has something to do, he does it, you know?
But for me, Paul, it's like down to their concentration.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've said it before as well. Celtic goalkeepers in general, because of the way we play, we're mostly on the front foot. They don't have a lot today. And as Terence is saying, but when they're called up and they need to deliver. And that's what Terence, I totally agree with Terence. If that was Barkas or Bain in goal today, would they have made day 2 saves? I doubt that. And it shows you just what Terence is saying, just that Joe Hart's a level above anything else. He's probably the top keeper. Well, I don't doubt it. He's the top keeper in Scotland now. Even McGregor's went back. McGregor was a good keeper. I'm not disputing that, but he's no the keeper he was now. Yeah, the keeper that he was anymore.
Reflexes, no Mark of kind of God knows when McGregor. You can even see that. Like
I was even reading as well. Shay Given was talking Joe Hart up about he'd heard how good he was in the changing room, and it was a case of people maybe thought he was going to get in there and get the big I am in that, but he's been really, really good with like younger players, and just Shay Given says he's a big character in the dressing room and that, but he's no a big time Charlie or anything like that. Charlie, that's his real name to you, isn't it? Charles. I wonder why he doesn't go with that.
Do you wonder why? That paedophilia family down there don't probably want to be associated with them.
That's not Joe Hart's family, by the way. That's
I saw Stevie Woods, and it just shows, I think, how much respect he has, Mark, within the coaching system as well. Like you were saying there, he's a big character. Stevie Wood coming up to Joe Hart after the game, hugging him and stuff like that. Do you think Stevie Woods knows how much big it is to have Joe Hart in the club, as not just as a goalkeeper, but just as what you're saying there, his presence, like, you know what I mean? You know, it must be good for Stevie Woods to actually have a good goalkeeper that he's working with as well, you know?
Because even at that, Bain, Barkas and Hazard, they'll be still training and learning off of Joe Hart as well. I mean, Bain needs to do is watch and learn for Joe Hart, and I'm not saying Bain would be good enough for Celtic, but Bain could become a better keeper just with training up with Joe Hart and Stevie Woods. Stevie, we've said it before.
With the young lad Toby walking with Joe Hart, to be honest, Mark.
I've said it before. Stevie Woods is one of the best goalkeeping coaches in the business, and Joe Hart will have heard of Stevie Woods, or maybe even knew him through the goalkeepers have all got their own wee kind of cliquey union, they call it, ain't they? But he'll have checked up on things like that as well before he chose to come up to Celtic. And I don't think there's any player, any goalkeeper that played or got coached with Stevie Woods would have a bad word to say about him, Paul.
Mm-hmm. What does this mean, Mark? For Celtic in terms of the season? Like, does it set down a marker now to our rivals, or we're back? It's the first trophy of the season. We won it. You know what I mean? We're only 4 points. Like, we're 7 points now, but with the game in hand. But,
there's a long way to go in the league, Paul.
It really sets a marker, Mark, don't it, for the season ahead? Like, it was important, Mark, that we got that cup today.
I mean, they're all writing it off. It's a Mickey Mouse cup and things like that, but they weren't writing it off and they're counting it for all their stolen titles and cups and that. Do you know what I mean? As you said, Paul, it's the first trophy of the season, and every trophy's important. See, if you're at Celtic, every trophy's important to win. Fair dues, the league's the most important, but you don't want anybody. If you're at Celtic, you don't want other teams to be winning trophies. You're there that's your job as a Celtic player. Your job is to win every single trophy that you can at whatever season it is.
Mm-hmm. Terence, yourself, what does this mean for going forward, confidence levels and stuff like that?
It's massive. It's the first trophy of the season. Celtic have won it, and Celtic have put down a marker. Ange has put down a marker. I mean, and you like what Mark's saying is, you hear people saying, it's only the League Cup, it's this, it's Mickey Mouse. It's never a Mickey Mouse Cup when you win it.
No, that's exactly it.
It might be Mickey Mouse Cup when you get knocked out of it, or you only win one trophy in 9 or 10. That might be different, but I'm sure when you win it, people like in Celtic have their 4 trebles in a row. They've won that 4 times to win the trebles. If they didn't win that, they wouldn't have any trebles. So listen, you watch those League Cups, Paul, in any country, whether that's down below in England. When they get to the final, all the big guys come out. All the big, if it's Man City, they fill their team. This is a brilliant achievement by Ange, and it lays on a marker, and it lets the team from across the city know that Celtic are vying for the title, and are well capable of winning the title.
Well, what's that? We've won 13 of the last 16 trophies in
16
Scotland.
trophies. Yeah.
Exactly.
Ali McCoy said during his commentary, Mark, that credit needs to be given to Ange, the way he's come in and got his ideas across to these players in so little time, that this is nearly up there winning the treble under Brendan Rodgers, considering he had nothing when he came in.
Oh, maybe I wouldn't put it as important as that. But
no, in terms of winning, in terms not the trophy, but in terms of winning,
we've just spoke about where we've came in the last 4 months or something like that, Paul. And it's a trophy that's there to be won. And Tern says it's only a Mickey Mouse trophy if you're not winning it. You win their first trophy after where we've came from. It's a brilliant achievement. It's a foundation. That's the foundation built.
That's the foundation for the season. Yeah.
No, it's a case of just building on that, getting plugging away in the league.
It can only breed confidence into the team. Like it's basically, look, lads, ye are winners. Simple as that. You're winners. There's a trophy there there's a trophy there that proves you're a winner. There's a medal around your neck that proves that you're a winner. You're winners. Now let's push on, and we know we can do this. That's the other psychological thing. We now know we can achieve these things. And as you said there, Marco, Paul, you were saying, like with the January, you can see the team with the greatest respect is it's nearly sticking fingers in holes to keep the water coming through, because there's guys dropping all over the place and guys are playing out of position and guys are busting a gut. Like come January, we get in a few more bodies, the guys that are hopefully all linked and they all come in. It's going to freshen up the squad, freshen up. We'll have more bodies. It might allow guys to have a little bit more rest. But like it can only breed confidence into the team that they've won the first trophy and they have it, and it's gone back to Parkhead, and they've got the medals around their necks. And I'm sure Ange himself will be telling those players that listen, we've won the cup. So it can only have other teams looking over their shoulder at Celtic, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. One done, 2 to go.
That's it, Mark. Yeah. Just go to your play ratings, Mark. Just go through them.
Probably said what I've probably said everything I was going to say already, Paul. Right, 2 seconds, bud. There we go. Just Joe Hart, I felt we could have done a bit better at the Hibs goal, but he made a couple of cracking saves for Nisbet and the guy at the very end as well. Gave him a 7. Juranovic, again, solid, dependable as usual in defence, and he got up and down the wing well. I gave him a 6. Carter Vick.
Can I just point something out there, Mark, and that, right? Juranovic on the right-hand side today, right? All our play was down the left today. And I'm going back to the point, is that because Radisson gets so high up to the byline? Are we actually losing something on the right-hand side when Radisson's not there?
Well, we might be, Paul, because that Abada's starting to stink up the joint a bit. I was going to get to that, but that's a good point.
Because I really thought, as I was surprised as he, and I said this on the live chat as well, that I was disappointed for Radisson not to be, because I think he deserved to be a starter in the final.
Did you know carrying a knock as well, but Paul? Maybe that's how he was on the bench.
I think he put in, and what was it, Terence? He said he put in so much of an effort against Ross County or something like that. He was kind of struggling with the
It was that, but I think he had a knock in his ankle, and I think they were kind of wary of it as well.
Right.
Continue, so Mark.
Carter Vickers, I thought he was the main man in defence today, Paul. It just seemed to win every ball. I don't think there was I can't think back to a challenge or a tackle that Carter Vickers didn't win.
Be no questions, though, Mark. He needs to be signed.
Oh, definitely.
You know, you can't like.
I think he's. Sorry, Paul. I think he's more an important signing than Jota, in my opinion. I think he's more of an important signing than Jota because if he is a rock in the centre half. He's a rock.
We know what we're getting from Terence. Do you know what I mean? And if he goes, we're going back into the unknown again of bringing in another defender. You know what I mean? Is he good enough? Waiting for him to settle in. Well, like Carter Vickers has settled in really from day one, Mark, hasn't he?
Aye, Paul. It's like Juranovic. He plays as if he's been playing with Celtic for years.
Yeah,
he really does. He's a cracking young player. And see, to be honest with you, Paul, I'm actually surprised that he's at Celtic. See, now that I've seen him playing in that, I mean, I'm not saying...
How there wasn't more teams in for him,
that's what I mean. As I said, Spurs were selling them for £5 million, but nobody would spend £5 million on them. Down in England, when they pay, I mean, they'll pay
that's nothing,
£10 million on Dross, really. Yeah, going to start...
And I think... Go on.
No, on you go. I was just going to go on the Starfield.
I was just about to say, Mark, I think now would be a good time to approach Vickers about signing for the club, Mark, because he's getting first team football. He's won a cup with us. He knows that he can play in Europe now with Celtic after Christmas, and the qualifiers are there for the Champions League. It's a good time to approach Vickers now when things are so good at the club to get him signed up. Him and Yasser, I
think there'll have been some kind of talks, Paul, between their agents and men behind the scenes to. I mean, because as I've said, Paul, it's going to come down to the players themselves, I think. Because I think Celtic would be after not to no try to sign
because
either
but you know then, Mark, that like I remember you saying at that time when I asked you that question, you said it like Celtic be mad.
They're mad, John, on the live chat.
Not to put a bid on, Mark, for them and with the fans knowing that they didn't put this money up front from. Do you know what I mean? Then it'll come back to the club. If the club actually pays the money, do you know what I mean? And it's down to the players, then they can't blame the club then, Mark. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, even if if he puts it like 5 million and 6 million, 11 million pound an outlay, that's just a couple of million more than we paid for Edward, Paul. And how many years ago was that now? I mean, I think the two of them at 11 million pound. I think that's a bargain. I really do, because you know that you know he's going to make you money in the future, and Carter Vickers will either make you money or maybe even just stay here for years, which either or I'd be happy with. Do you know what I mean?
Moving on.
Starfield. I know his best game looked shaky at times and has to shoulder some responsibility for their goal. But as I said, I thought Hart could have done better, but that would definitely...
I'm surprised, Mark, because like every corner and set pieces that were kind of coming into the box in the last couple of weeks, I mentioned it myself, it was Starfield that was getting his head on it.
I know.
Do you know what I mean?
Just didn't seem to get on the day.
I honestly think the occasion could have got to him. His first big final for Celtic, and I think the occasion could have got to him. And I won't accept people writing Starfield off. Like I saw people there screaming. Like today, I would have accepted Welch coming on because Starfield wasn't his best. Like, but I wouldn't say replace Starfield with Welch. Do you know what I mean? Because I see the weakness there when Welch is there back. Do you know what I mean?
Just pure overreaction, Paul. As I said, the guy said one bad game in 3 months, and all of a sudden he's no good enough in that. That's just knee-jerk reactions, and I don't pay any attention to things like that. Because you know see the thing about it, Paul. There's no way in the world that Angie's going to drop Starfield and say that you're not good enough to play for Celtic because of that cup final performance.
He'd have to do that in a few games. He'd have to play badly in a few games.
He'll play bad. Every player will play badly in games, isn't it, Terence?
But it's like James Forrest. Everyone was raving, we need James Forrest back. We need him back. He came back, he had one bad game. He got absolute pelters. And I said it on here with you before. He was literally out. He came back. He didn't play great in one game or something. And my God, he got hockeyed. Starfelt was basically, people were telling to get rid of him, and he was the new Duffy after, I think, 2 games. He didn't play well today. Now, I'm sorry, I let Mark go on with his thing, but I think sometimes he got a little bit rattled today, like he did against Ross County when he got the knock. But sorry, I'll let Mark continue.
No,
Sorry, Mark.
maybe it is. I have got that in it, saying that maybe it is one of these players who's going to struggle or take a bit of time to get used to the physical side of the Scottish game. But the day it wasn't very good the day at all. I've only gave him a 6. Taylor, I thought he was doing all right to go off injured. I just hope it's nothing too serious. I gave him a 5. McGregor, delighted for him to get his hands in his first trophy as our captain. And he put in just what you expect from McGregor, another all-round just performance in the middle of the park. Always looking for the ball and always looking to create and things like that. Rogic, I thought Rogic had won his quieter games. He never gave up. He never stopped like trying to make breakthroughs. Fair to set up the goal and things like that. But a few times in the box, he was just trying back to the one touch too many kind of thing. And that I thought, Paul.
That's a lot with Rogic, Mark, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Too many touches on the ball, isn't it?
It used to be one of the things that I always moaned about on me, Paul, but he's not been doing that as much. But I thought the day was just at times he just done it again. I'm not saying it was a lazy performance. I just don't think it was. I don't think it was. Maybe even like Starfelt. I'm not saying he was shook up like Starfelt with occasion, but maybe it just didn't have as good a game as we expect from him now. Because we expect Rogic to be running riot really every week, didn't we? So maybe we have set up expectations a bit high.
And there we are saying that about a player who was going to be sold last season, and we were said take the money and let him go. And now we're saying like we expect him to be playing.
I know. This maybe it is. I'm just expecting.
Year, like,
I know.
You know what I mean?
Maybe we're all just as fickle and spoiled, Paul. Turnbull. I thought he started well, but unlucky to become the latest victim. But looks like we're kind of hamstring curse. And I felt heart sorry for him. I really did. I just hope that it's nothing too serious for him. I gave him a 5 as well. Abada, I thought, shocking again the day, I thought, Paul.
Something seriously wrong there, man.
Very poor performance. And people are still constantly getting on Mikey Johnson's back. While Abada's putting in that kind of performance that we've seen today. And let's not be kidding, Paul. This isn't a one-off. I've spoken about this before.
No, this is going on now for the last couple of months, Mark. You know what I mean?
He offers nothing to the team. Nothing, no. I'm not writing him off, Paul. We said that because we've seen when he first came in, especially his pace. But I've even noticed, Paul, he doesn't even seem to look as fast now. There was a time the day, and I thought
the byline, Mark. He's not looking to take players on. He's not looking. To run with the ball himself.
There was a break a day, and I thought, he's going to hear this and get away, but he didn't have that kind of burst of speed that we were used to seeing from him. So I don't know. He's maybe with Forrest being out injured, it's back to Abad is always going to be picked into it. But we need to try and get inside that lad's head and get him back to the player that we saw at the beginning of the season. I actually gave him a 4. Kyogo never stopped running for the first whistle. A bit of quiet first half, but in the second half he lit up Hampden with just 2 goals, 2 quality goals. He was my man of the match. I gave him an 8. Mikey Johnson, usual, he needs to work on his decision making for the final ball, but he worked away tirelessly, was always showing up as an option out in the wing, and he put in a better performance than Abada. That's basically
I was thinking about Mickey Johnson there today, and I was looking at him the last couple of games, and do you think maybe he's trying too hard to get a goal?
He might be, Paul.
Maybe that's affected Mark or something like that. You know what I mean?
Playing with a bit of weight on his shoulders or something like that. I think so.
Feel like pressure on his shoulders, Mark, that he needs to get a goal, and that's maybe if because when you see Yarsak cutting in, Mark, there from the left, like, and he's hitting that ball 9 times out of 10. That's going in the top corner. And Mickey Johnson is trying it. You can see he's trying it, but he just can't get the angles. And that's what I'm thinking. Like, is he overtaking it too much? Is he trying too hard to get that goal? Because there was a few chances there when you have to question Mickey Johnson's decision making. When the shot wasn't done, he tried to take it when he could have passed this to someone in a better position.
That's what
That's what I'm
Paul.
saying. Like,
Just
is he actually trying too hard, Mark? Do you know what I mean? You know, to get a goal.
it's still maybe a bit immature the way he plays in that, Paul. See, Kev said it on the live chat earlier today. He still plays as if he's a kid. You know what I mean? He wants the ball and just to run and take everybody on and then score the goal, which he probably did when he was a young kid. You know, I mean, we all grew up with players at school that could do that kind of thing. But when you're playing at top level, you need to kind of evolve your game, and it's his decision making. But I've said I kind of stick up for Mikey Johnson, Paul. I'm not going to write the lad off because he's a bit of torrid timing.
No, because Matt, I give it to him now, and I said it during the last. Everyone has a clean slate.
And Ange seems to rate him as well, because Ange seems to think there's something in him.
He doesn't stop, but I think the only problem with Mickey Johnson at the moment, and he needs to learn, is lift up his head.
And I have a look about him.
Have a look about instead of, because he doesn't seem to be looking even when he's shooting the ball or something like that, Mark. And that it's going wayward. Like the lad deserves a goal. I think if he gets a goal, his nerves might come down. This pressure might come off him. That because Mickey Johnson obviously has social media.
You know what's getting said about him in that.
That's going on. So that's what I think. Like going back to the 90s there, Mark, and the 80s when you're a young player coming into a team, you didn't have this media around you. Do you know what I mean? You might see something on the paper during the week about you, but that was about it. But now, like, you actually see that the fans are putting out against you. Like, do you know what I mean?
Scumbag stuff. I look it is pure scumbag stuff in my opinion, Paul. I mean, you can sit here, we sit here and we'll say players, whether they played well, whether we think they're good, but I mean, you don't attack players personally wise and things like that. There's no need for that, carry on. But he's a young lad and he'll see what's getting said about him in social media and things like that, and just says maybe he's just wanting a goal just to shut them up. Do you get what I mean? Maybe he's trying too hard just to kind of ram the words down people's throat and that, but he's only a young player. Look at Ralston. He was a young player that we all wrote off. Right, Tom Rogic was a senior player that we all wrote off. So who's to say that Mikey Johnson, by the time the end of the season comes like that, he's turning out all right?
If you look at it, Mark, right, the under-21's manager said about Luke O'Connell that he's lost 2 years of his progression under Celtic under Neil Lennon's tenure. All right? So could we say the same about Mickey Johnson being a young player under Neil Lennon? I know he's been coming in now since Brendan Rodgers is there as well. He's been kind of in the wrong, but has he maybe lost kind of progress under the Neil Lennon?
Well, probably has through that, Paul, and through his kind of injury record as well.
He really did get a bit of bad luck, like to say, Mark. I mean, with injury, like we could say the same at Radisson, Mark. Do you know what I mean? Radisson, didn't get a look in under Neil Lennon. He was, I say, if Neil Lennon was manager this season, Radisson was gone out that door, and we were saying good luck to Radisson. He wasn't good enough, but we never saw Radisson play. Do you get me?
No,
we saw Radisson play. You know what I mean?
And what we say, we know the youth setup was a disaster under Lennon's time in that, Paul. So that's just the young players will have missed out on the level of progression. Like you're saying, was that his agent? Luke O'Connell's agent.
No, it was the Irish manager, on the 21's manager said it.
I mean, we were excited about seeing him, Paul.
Yeah. He went backwards when after Celtic signed him. Even the way he played, Mark, and his confidence levels have went backwards since he went to Celtic. And that's
just answer that with Rab there, Paul. Was it no the head of sports science at the youth academy that left the other day? Mind I sent you a link about it, Paul?
Yes.
Oh, they're Rab
Yes,
saying
the
it's the
head
head of our youth. It wasn't the head of our youth, it was the head of the youth sports science, I'm sure, Rab. So just like...
It's the head of the sport. I'm getting up there. It was the head of sports. Then he went to Leicester.
Oh, that's right. So was that? Aye, that's how I sent you. We went to Leicester with Rod to join up with Rodgers, wasn't it?
Yeah, like that's a big blow. Well, is it a big blow considering how disastrous our youth system is at the moment?
No, but Paul, I wouldn't have thought that you sit the academy. I wouldn't have thought the academy would have had their own like sports science, like head of sports science. I thought like
they would, yeah.
No, I thought it would be the Irish boy that came in.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he'd have been in charge of the sports science for the full kind of playing staff, and obviously there'd be maybe somebody that keeps an eye on it with the youth. But
unless he's the head.
Mark, do you know what I mean? You know, maybe they spoke to this fella. I mean, what's going on here? Like, you know what I mean? You know, like, because we saw how much of a shambles our sports science is at the moment at the club. You know.
Oh, they're Rab saying somebody. They're Rab saying somebody else has left. I've not heard anybody else leaving. Rab, sorry, bud.
Oliver Morgan, the club's head of sports science since 2019. He was the head of the academy performance support.
Maybe the Irish guy is the head guy, and there's a sports science guy. He was overseeing the sports science guy under the youths, and then there's a sports science guy under the ladies team as well. And maybe the Irish guy is the head over the top of it, and he's maybe working with the two different setups. You know what I mean? The way they'd have probably their own physios and their own sports.
Aye.
Look at that, so Mark, right? Looking at that, right? Okay, so like we put it to the club's way of thinking, right? And says that he needs to modernise the sports science department. So maybe this fella Anton and Ange came in, and maybe they said, "Look, this fella's not good enough." Maybe they left because
maybe Celtic were letting them go. Quite happy for them to go and they're kind of reshuffling that department.
All of a sudden, we bring in this new head of sports science into the club, and these two fellas have left. So maybe they haven't been up to the scratch. Players are injured. Young players aren't getting progression that we needed. I mean, so there was problems within the academy, and so maybe we're seeing changes behind the scenes where the board have made the decisions rather than the individuals leaving themselves. You know.
It could be. I mean, I don't really think it's that big a deal, to be honest with you, but it kind of just stuck out because he went to Leicester, kind of idea, wasn't it? That's what kind of caught my eye about it.
If he went anywhere else, I don't think it would have made as much of a. There would have been as much of a throw.
I'd never heard of him. No, I'd never even heard of him. No. You know what I mean?
But I just think it's the whole Leicester thing. If it wasn't Leicester, I don't think there'd be as much of a kind of a.
Yeah, that was kind of the media, kind of Brendan Rodgers raid Celtic again, kind of a thing. Like, do you know what I mean? You know,
if he had gone to, for argument's sake, if he had gone to Hibs or he had gone to Tottenham or whatever, no, I don't think anyone would have even taken any notice of it. I think it's more the fact it's gone to Leicester and people are probably thinking, "Oh my God, we've lost another fella to Leicester. Oh, he must be great." As I said, it could be a case like, and just come in and the sports head is the new guy, the sports science guy come in and he's probably going, "Look, I'm not really keen on the way this guy does this. It's not really the way I like to do it. This is the way I like to do it." And they might, like Mark is saying there, and you're saying maybe they might have thought, "I'm not sure this guy is up to the level I want him to be at."
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. There are terms like putting kind of two and two together. Really, like we just brought in the head of sports science, like and said it himself like that this needs to be modernised within the club. Like, do you know what I mean?
But what it is as well, Paul, is at times, and everyone is does it. You naturally assume the guys.
You don't hear these things, like, you know what I mean? Like
people naturally assume because he's leaving Celtic and he's going to Leicester in the Premier League, he must be good. He must be good. Why must he be? Because he's good. Because he's going to the Premier League. Whereas if we got a guy from Leicester up to Celtic, everyone would assume, that's a brilliant fella. He might be rubbish. You know, there's an awful perception that because it's the Premier League or he's going to the Premier League or he's coming to the Premier League, he's automatically going to be good or he's automatically brilliant. That's why he's going back there. It's just, some people have funny perceptions of things.
Who was the scout that he brought in with him and he follows him everywhere? Brendan Rodgers. he was with him at Swansea, he was with him at Liverpool, and he buys all these players for him.
Oh, can't you mind the name off the top of my head, Paul?
You know the fella man about. The Leicester fans now are on his back. That fella's back, bringing in players who aren't good enough for Leicester. You know,
But Leicester have got a director of football.
Yeah, this fella's scouting them, though. He's scouting them, and he's bringing them up to the director. They're on his back. This fella's back. I was reading it there today. You know, it doesn't seem to be all rosy for Brendan Rodgers at Leicester at the moment.
Steve Walsh.
That's it, I think. No, not Welsh. No, I'll find this. I'll find.
He was ex-captain, wasn't he?
That's clicked the wrong thing, yeah.
You know, Mark, continue there with the rest of your things if you.
Oh, the rest of my
some
ratings.
left.
Who was that? Mikey Johnson have done him. Just the subs left. Beaton came on to replace Turnbull and brought his usual kind of solidness and calmness to the midfield. And didn't like to see Turnbull going off injured, Paul, but I think there's a better balance in the team when Beaton plays in there.
Yeah.
I definitely do. I've said it before. I don't think Turnbull and Rogic should play together. It should be either or. With McGregor and either like a Beaton or McCarthy type of player in there. I gave him a 6. Ralston came on to replace Taylor and just settled in it right back. Although I'm not sure about this trying to keep the ball in the corner with 5 minutes in the clock. What was that all about? What was he trying to do? He didn't expect to just stand in there for 5 minutes, surely. And see, honestly,
I don't think he was too hard at that.
See, when they're talking about that is one of my pet hates in football. See that just when players just. See, honestly, for me, Ralston was fouling that guy. He was obstructing the boy.
That's obstruction.
Aye, that's what I hate.
If you did that in the middle of the field, you give away a free.
See when players like shielding the body, like get it to run out for a by kick right in the corner. That's obstruction for me. If you're not actually going for the ball, you're mere content in keeping the guy away from the ball. You're obstructing him.
Mm-hmm.
But to try and do that in 85 minutes was just craziness. I don't know what he was trying to do there. But I never even really bothered with young Moffat or that. Paul never gave him any ratings really. Just so that was mine.
Yeah, yourself, Terence.
For me, I pretty similar to Mark with everything that he said about Joe Hart. I thought the saves alone, I gave Joe Hart an 8. I thought Juranovic again. I like him. He's a classy player. I think he's actually played better at left back than he has at right back. Well, that sounds funny, but I genuinely think he's performed. But I give him a 7. I thought Vickers. I think he's unbelievably solid. He just doesn't miss any headers, and he's not going to be bullied. He's just a block of a man. I give him an 8. I thought Starfelt. I think he really got ruffled after that when they brought on the big guy, and I think he got a little bit ruffled today. Unusual because he has been playing very solid, and I, like yourself, Paul, I've been a big supporter of him. I thought he's been a really, really solid player, but he just looked a bit, whether it was a cup final or what, I don't know, but I gave him a 5 because I really thought he struggled. I thought Taylor was good for the time he went on. I'd say that when he got the kind of the knock in the back of the leg, I'd say that's probably the reason he's gone off. I give him a 6. In the middle, I thought McGregor again was super as always. I give him an 8. I thought Rogic was okay. He's normally a bit better, but I think Hibs were kind of targeting him as well. I give him a 6. I give Turnbull was decent till he obviously went off. You know what I mean? But he wasn't on long, to be fair. So I give him a 5. But I thought Beaton, I like Beaton and the sitting role. I said that before, and I like that balance. And I thought again he was very, very solid. Again, I give him a 7. I've been one of his biggest critics, Mikey Johnson, but I really thought he had a solid game today. To be fair to him, I would like to see him on the other wing, because he seems to cut in an awful lot. So maybe if he was on the right wing,
maybe cross the ball in then, Terence. Yeah, take on him,
because I'm not a big fan personally myself of when wingers continually cut in, because I think it confines the space. I'd rather see the winger trying to take it on the man.
That's the point I was making about Rallison and kind of kind of overlapping Abada, and that's why Abada cuts in, because he has Rallison there, and I still feel we're losing something on the right hand side when Ralston's not there in our attacking sense, because Ralston distribution is brilliant. Like,
sorry to cut in there, just Rab's put up that guy's name, Greg Robertson. He was an academy coach, but he's away to a job in America apparently. Getting up a role with the Boston Bolts. He's worked at Celtic for the academy for over the last 18 years, but he's left to go to America.
Funny.
Didn't hear nothing about it.
Never heard. Another guy I've never really heard of him. You know what I mean? All these guys that work behind the scenes that we've no heard of, but well spotted, Rab. Rab, well spotted, bud.
But would you agree, Terence, though, that are we missing something when Ralston's not in that team? Like, you know what I mean? What he's actually giving us at the moment.
We did today, and probably it actually kind of showed itself today, because as Mark highlighted as well, even when he was going through it there, Abada really is struggling, and he's struggling badly. And maybe the fact when Ralston has been playing, and he's been playing so well, and he has been overlapping him, it's been maybe kind of covering up some of Abada's deficiencies at the minute. Do you know what I mean? But today, when Juranovic wasn't necessarily getting past him, and Abada had to kind of do the work for himself, it really showed up badly today. And again, it's only not a huge criticism of the guy. It's just a criticism of the game today for him. But certainly Ralston, when he goes around him, laps him, it helps him. Whereas today he had no one to do that, and he did look a little bit lost at times. Now, to be fair, I thought he had a very poor game, like Mark had said. And obviously up front, Kyogo. What can you say? Like the touch for the first goal. Honest to God, it's unbelievable. As I said, if the Ronaldos and the Messis or whoever it is down the Premier League guys had Harry Kane's or these guys had touched it and finished it like that, they'd be raving about. It was phenomenal. And then the second goal is the same thing. He's just his vision, his awareness, he just never stops going. He's like a Duracell bunny. He just never stops going. He must annoy defenders so much. And to be honest, I gave him a 10 because it was just, the two goals were just phenomenal. And the touch for the first goal was just, I could watch it all day. It was just out of this world. And other than that, obviously, I actually think young Moffat, to be fair, when he came on, I thought he did really well. I have to say, I thought he did. I would much rather, in the next league game, put maybe Mikey Johnson on the right, on the right hand side, take off Abada, put Mikey Johnson on the right, and throw Moffat on the left. Now that's assuming Kyogo is fit enough to play, but he may not start the next league game. If not, you'd have to have Abada through the middle. But it's worth a crack, because I just don't like the idea of the wingers continually cutting in. It's fine if they're going to cut in, if the fullback's going to overlap them continuously, but we weren't doing that today. So for me, I'd like to see Moffat on the left, give Johnson a run on the right, and I certainly would go back to the two. For me, I would go back and have Juranovic. I thought he has played better football at left full than he has at right full. But again, look, that's any personal opinion, But yeah, that would be my ratings anyway, Paul.
Rob, I get Mark to explain how you buy the tickets for the Hibs game there and the raffle, Mark there. Rob is asking about the tickets for the raffle.
No, they're talking about tickets for the day's game, Paul.
All right.
He said he was trying to get tickets for the Hibs end today, but he didn't get any.
All right. Mark, I have to come to you for this because how did you feel about the ref's performance today? Was that a penalty to Hibs, you think, at the end, the push by Starfelt? Because you've seen them giving.
You've seen them giving, Paul.
I think we were very unlucky, Mark, think we're very unlucky today not to get that given away against us.
But it was, again, Paul, I just thought the referee had a really, really poor performance all round.
Mm-hmm.
Just
No consistency.
no,
Mark,
it was just.
cards or.
But I mean, I did well. You know, I had problems getting the game on, Paul. So I never seen whatever it was, the apparent tackle that the Hibs player should have got booked for early doors. But even the commentators were talking about it when eventually, who was it, the first Celtic player to get booked?
Ivanovic. You could see Andrews actually frustrated with us at the sideline, saying Andrews questioning the
I mean, even the commentators were talking about the consistency of it, Paul. I mean, the commentators are talking about it. You know, it must be bad. I mean, really,
I think that he made a run for his own back.
Just some of the decisions again were just so strange. You couldn't. I mean, guys getting booked for tackles that really they shouldn't have got booked for. They weren't bookings, and other ones getting booked, but no even getting a free kick or a yellow card for ones that were obviously bookings. Just I mean, we keep talking about it, Paul. As I said, we've got to keep speaking about it, even when we day one, and even when decisions go our way. Do you know what I mean?
That's why I brought it up, Mark, because there's no point in bringing up every podcast when we lose. Because then we're looking like sore losers. We won the game today, but there was still inconsistency.
And there's David Gallagher saying it as well. There. If the Porteous one was a penalty, the Taylor one, the first half should have been a penalty as well.
Yeah, there's no, and that seems to be the problem. We're not saying there's a freaking conspiracy here. We're not saying that.
I mean,
it's
the Porteous one, Paul. I mean, really, what David's saying there's bang on. See if it was up the other end of the park, as Celtic fans are screaming for it. Whereas when it's up, when it's against us, you're like, I don't know, is it? No, but
because I would have said, Mark, that Starfeld's foul was a penalty. I would have said, I think Celtic were lucky not to get that given away against us.
I think we got away with one today with the penalty, definitely. But as I said, you've seen them given, Paul, but then you don't see them given.
Yeah,
so
that's it. You know what I mean?
They're a good question. They're a good question for your ab there. At some point tonight, I'd like to hear if you think we should sell James Forrest and bring in a more reliable player for right wing.
Well, when I was going to talk, I was actually going to talk about James Forrest because I spoke to Mark about on the last podcast, Rab, right? And I said to you, Mark, that I'm concerned about James Forrest because he's picking up these niggling injuries all the time now. All the time since he went out with his back last season, Mark, he missed. And ever since then, Mark, he's back for 1 or 2 games. And said, Mark, that when James Forrest came back, James Forrest is the fittest he's been since I came into the club. How fit is James Forrest?
Well, that's I said as well, Paul. When you look back over his career, he had a long spell. He was always in and out the team injured in that, and he seems to be falling back into that pattern. Maybe this training again, Paul's a pure shock to his system. Maybe that's what he's struggling with the regime.
I really think he's struggling with these injuries, right? And they're not big injuries, Mark. They're niggling injuries that are keeping them out, and these niggling injuries are going to keep Forrest out for practically nearly 70% of the season. I say if he's the way he's going at this stage with injuries.
I was never Forrest's biggest fan, Paul, but we Kev 83 we kind of convinced, and you can't fault his goal scoring stats and his assist stats over the last few seasons, but again we're saying his injury, it just seems to be coming back to that kind of point in his career where we're getting a couple of games off him and then he's out injured. And
we're not even getting that though at the moment, Mark, are we? We're not even getting that. You know what I mean? I think it was like when I was reading about the Ross County game, and I was saying to you, they thought James Forrest would last more than fucking 30 minutes of the game, and he didn't. And that's a more concern for me. Is it worth us having him? Do you know what I mean? That are we going to keep a player who we're going to get 10 games a season?
I think James Forrest a big asset to Celtic, Paul.
Yeah,
but that's the thing. Is it going to be a fully fit James Forrest?
Is he going to be a fully fit James Forrest. Terence, what do you think of that? Because I spoke to Mark about it. What would be your mark on that?
The query I have, I don't know whether one of the two or any of you can answer this. Did James Forrest do pre-season? Was he fit for pre-season? I can't.
No. I don't know. I don't think he was, Terence, off the top of my head.
No,
it doesn't strike me. It doesn't strike me as a coincidence that James Forrest, James McCarthy, and Giakoumakis, none of those three guys who seem to be very, very injury prone, have played any pre-season, and as soon as they come back, they're gone again. Or okay, maybe not necessarily McCarthy, but he's certainly struggling. But the other two, as soon as they're back, they're gone again. Like, it's clearly, obviously, like what was Mark has been saying there, they clearly, obviously, can't get up to the level of fitness or level of intensity that Ange is doing, and their bodies are just taken down.
Barry said that to us on the podcast when we had Barry on. When we were talking about James McCarthy, we asked him about pre-season. He says pre-season is the most important thing for a player. You know, to get yourself ready for the season. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you played rugby all your life, Terence. You know what I mean? You know how big it is. Like, if you're not fully fit at the start of the season, are you going to get fit, Terence? Do you know?
But it's so hard. But we actually, I remember at the start of this season, and it was said on kind of live chats and forums and the whole lot. And I remember Mark in particular said it, and we said it. A lot of these players' bodies were going to be shocked, and we said there's going to be a lot of injuries because they weren't going to be used to the level of intensity and training and demands on their body that was there for, say, previous 12 months or 24 months, which wasn't there. And we said, players, this is going to shock players beyond all belief. But it's clearly shown. You look at, say, a guy like Kyogo, who came from Japan, who was obviously bouncing fit. He was straight into it. There was no problem. Giakoumakis didn't do pre-season. Can't last. McCarthy didn't do pre-season. Can't last. Forrest didn't do pre-season. Can't last. It's no coincidence that these guys who are clearly on the, and I imagine the sports science guys or whoever looking at it, if there's up to 10 is the guys who are currently flying, they're probably down at the 2 and 3 and 4, like, because clearly there has to be something there. Because if James Forrest has a continuous back problem, I imagine the back problem, and I know this myself, goes down into the hamstrings. And if you've got a back problem, it's affecting your hamstrings, and you're constantly getting hamstring problems like tweaking and pulling. And listen, that's the main injury that Celtic players seem to have, is a hamstring injury. The majority of guys that are out are all hamstring related. I think Giakoumakis would be a calf or something like that, but the majority of them are hamstring injuries. You see Turnbull today as well. It's probably no coincidence, Paul, that the guys can't live with the intensity that's been asked of them. And like, I'd be like, Mark, a fit James Forrest is a great asset to Celtic, but a James Forrest at the minute that's coming on and he's coming for a game or half an hour or 40 minutes and then he's gone and then he's off. Like, he's going to be a big blow, because there's players in the squad that you can't rely on then, and that's a big asset when we're struggling for players and we're struggling for bodies. And you've got like these guys, as I said, like McCarthy. How many times have we said we hope we'd see him, we hope we surely be fit? Giakoumakis, we're up to Christmas now and these guys still can't get fit. It's a real worry.
I know it's not nothing to do with Angie's thing, but I mean, look at Julian.
Oh, that one baffles me, Mark. I hope I'm wrong.
I do hope I'm wrong. You don't like to see it happening to any player, but I don't think Julian's ever going to. I think he's going to struggle with any kind of career going forward.
Yeah, it's a real strange one, like, because you know you're looking at a guy like Julian, who obviously terrible injury, but like his whole recovery, it's not like, say, for argument's sake, anyone who was playing normal amateur sport, if they got a really bad injury, like I remember playing rugby, I broke my femur and I was in the cast for 14 weeks, but you have to still get on and do stuff. Whereas like Julian is obviously getting the best of care, the best of everything, and it's like it's over 12 months since the injury, and there's still no, like, there doesn't look to be any sign of him coming back. Every time he seems to come back, there seems to be a recurrence of it, or seems to be setback, or seems to be delay. It's terrible. It's terrible to hear. Obviously, first and foremost, from a health point of view for the guy. Take football aside, like, but from a health point of view, you'd hope that he'd be able to have a normal, be able to walk properly and do other stuff
But
properly.
even, I
But
mean,
it's just
we've heard like wee rumours every few months that he's. I mean, there's a rumour, but it must have been Paul 3 or 4 months ago that he was back running and he was ready, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was back in October. It was back in October, Mark. They were saying there were talks that they were saying in October that he could be ready for the for around Christmas time to come back, and they were saying he'd definitely be back before the new year. There doesn't look like there's any sign of him coming back. Like the
last time we know, is he going to some rehab or something like that in America or something like that?
Well,
They're trying to get this thing sorted out, Mark.
There was talk as well that he was going to sign on loan for some French second division team, and it was actually just so that it was a bit of weird, obscure story, Paul. That it was near one of the top clinics they've got in France, so he would be able to get like rehab at this clinic, but use this club's training facilities and that. But I don't see why we would need to sign on loan for him to do that. No, I mean Celtic could just.
It is.
Celtic,
I mean, like I think what I've been hearing, like, and you've been saying to me as well, like every little progress he's taking.
Actually, one step forward. It's one step forward, back, 2 steps back.
2 steps back. And it's concerning, like it is, like, you know, because at the moment, if that's the case with Julian, and Ange knows that, and the board obviously knows this, Mark, like we have to sign another centre back. So, like, do we need to cover this situation, don't we?
I think we need to sign another centre back anyway, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Even again, we spoke about how it can be. Okay, maybe sometimes saying
Four centre backs realistically, Mark, is what you need, and kind of every team has anyway. Is kind of 4 centre backs anyway, don't they?
And as I've said, I'm happy enough with Welsh playing like at SPFL level. I've not got any qualms with young Welsh playing in there. But again, if Welsh picks up a knock, or Carter, it'd be a disaster if Carter Vickers picked up a knock. You know what I mean? We'd be right down to our bare bones then, I reckon, because he, as I said, he's just kind of the rock that we build our defence on in the new winter.
Do you think what Rob is saying here? My theory is that we never have enough fit players because the Blow's slow reaction to the season, Mark, and Ange is being forced to play players in the red zone.
Well, I think look, Kyogo's the day. We know that Kyogo wasn't fully fit today, but I agree with that to a certain extent. There will be players that are pushing their bodies that wee bit above and beyond where they normally would, because of the way that it is with the squad now. But I don't know if you can put it on. Can you put it onto the board? I mean, you can go back to the Eddie Howe fiasco. You can, but I don't really think Ange can really complain about any of the back he's had for the board transfer wise for the length of time he's been in there. You get what I mean? If McCarthy was if McCarthy was fit and playing, if Giamakis was fit and playing, you get what I mean? The squad takes on a totally different look. Do you get what we've got players that can come in and cover positions and stuff like that.
Even on top of that, Mark, like we go back to the last Europa League game. Like Origi had a fine game. Shaw played quite well. Mm-hmm. These were guys that were games that haven't been played. So I know Ange's hand is limited in the sense of his squad because it's small. But those guys could still I thought they both played well. I thought Origi had a fine game in the Europa League game. Those guys showing that they can come in. Like there has to be a little bit of trust there as well. Now maybe obviously what they do in training is a different entity because you don't see that. But there's still guys like Shaw, there's still guys like Origi. Like if you're going to have them in the squad and have them on the bench, you might need to say to yourself, like if they're not good enough to come in at home against the likes of Dundee or someone like that, no disrespect to any Dundee fans or anything like that, but then they're not good enough to be at Celtic.
Well, if they could put on a performance against Real Betis terms, like sure, do you know what I mean? There has to be some trust shown there by Ange as well, isn't there? Do you know what I mean?
That's my point, Paul. Then if you look at this, look, Brett McGregor's played a load of games. I need to have a rest. McCarthy's is struggling a bit. Put Shaw in there.
And that's what you were saying, Mark, as well. Like, you know what I mean?
Put Shaw in there. Leave McGregor on the bench. Put Origi right back if someone's struggling with a knock, and just if you're looking at guys, and the sports science guys will know this better than anyone, and going, look, as I said, they're all kind of have these little chips on them when they're training. Going, look, I'm not saying he's running an empty, but he's a lot of miles on the clock here. We need to be wary of this guy. And go, okay, look, we're home to St Mirren. Okay, Callum, you're having a week off. You're going to sit on the bench. I'm going to bring you on last resort. But at the same time, if Celtic can't put 11 players on the pitch good enough to beat St Mirren without Callum McGregor, that's a problem in itself.
I asked you at the start of the podcast, like, does this set down a mark, like a statement for the rest of the season? And I was just thinking there what you said there. That this could set down a statement for Angel in the board as well, Mark. I mean, this is what I can do with having 8 players injured. Back me in January, and I'll show you what I can do for the rest of the season. Get the players I need, get the players I want in, and I'll bring Celtic to a next level. Do you know what I mean? That's kind of another kind of statement by Ange as well today towards the board. Like, look what I can do with this team now. Back me, and you'll see what else I can do for this club.
But if they've not done anything to show that they're no backing them.
No, that's what I'm saying. No, but that's what I'm saying. Like bring him to the next level. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if all these rumours, Mark, that we're hearing of signing players in January, like it's going to be a big statement by Ange and Celtic if we bring in more players in January. Do you get me? You know?
But Paul, we can only get up for here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can only get players who'll come back for injuries. We've got money to spend in January. We know that. And the board will give Ange money. I've no got any doubts about that.
I think there's definitely...
And we'll come out in January a lot stronger than even again than we are the now. And that's really, and that's when it'll be see January. I think that's January. That's when you'll see. Well, as I say, we've got new players to come in, because I also think it'll do the business pretty quick.
And especially the winter break as well, Mark. They'll have 2 weeks to gel.
I think after the winter break, we'll come flying out the traps after the winter break, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And there, as Rab says as well, the 2nd of January, the marker for the season will be set down if we beat them on the 2nd of January.
It has to be, Mark. I think that's the must-win game, in my opinion, isn't it?
I'm confident, Paul, but at home and things like that, it's full of Celtic fans, none of them's in the stadium.
My more concern about that game would be the ref. I know it's Willie Collum is the referee, isn't he?
I saw that on Twitter.
You know, I'd actually prefer Willie Collum than the likes of Beeson or Bobby Madden there. If I'm honest, Mark. Do you know what I mean? I know Willie Collum's a bit stupid as well, like, but it's not worse than them. Like, he's not giving free kicks just for the sake of it either, Mark, is he?
Beaton's one of the worst referees in Scotland. He's even worse than that guy last week that we didn't even know his name. I mean, that Ewan Anderson. Yeah. I don't know why Beaton...
Mark, it was the same handball yesterday, practically, that he gives Rangers a penalty, and he didn't give us on against Ross County the other night. Same situation. That's where you're going. That's where you're coming into consistency. Like, you know what I mean? Why is this? And
they're not getting asked the questions, Paul.
Yeah.
Why did they? I've not even seen the handball for yesterday. I've not even seen it, right? But for what I've heard, even on our forum, a few of the lads have said that it was a penalty, right? But why is he no brought? Exactly. Why is he no asked? Look, why did you know? Why it doesn't even need to be a Celtic game, whatever game it is. But why did you give that penalty in that game? But you missed that one. Whether it's
Crawford Allen now.
Exactly. You missed a penalty. You missed a blatant handball in the Celtic game last week. You missed a blatant whatever in the Aberdeen v Hibs game for that week. So you're not performing to the standards expected as a professional grade 1 referee. So you need to either up your game in the next 6 weeks, or we'll review your position. And if you're not up to scratch in the next 6 weeks, you're spending the next 6 weeks doing the Championship, or even a league lower than that. Whatever. There's got to be.
The problem with that, Mark, nearly is all the referees are so bad that there'd be nearly be no referees. The referee would have to.
Well, that's the thing. But see if there was something like that, Terence, it would maybe make them perform better. If there was some kind of I don't know, some kind of punishment system or whatever you want to call it, but they can't just keep plodding on, because it's wasting the game up here. See, honestly, people going about why people don't watch Scottish football, Noah, it's the referees that are part of the problem that makes Scottish football look a bit like a joke to the outside world.
Terence, I said to Mark on the last podcast, I said we've hard-time referees here who are, for me, looking at our referees, they're more experienced than the full-time referees over in Scotland.
I'd agree with you, but even in, say, for argument's sake, from my side of it, from the rugby side of it, if there's a referee reffing one of the local matches, there's an adjudicator at the match watching him. Like, there's a guy watching him at the match, and if he's making X, Y, and Z decisions, he has to explain to man, why did you make that decision? Like, do you know? And like if he does it and he's brutal, he doesn't get, as like Mark said, he doesn't promote himself up and continually go up. Do you know? But I agree with you, Paul. Sure, like some of the referees in the League of Ireland and all that would be 10 times better than the guys in the SPL. But like that I don't like you meant beating at all. But that one today, the one at the end, I thought it was a stonewall penalty to send to Hibs. The one that Starfelt pushed him at. I thought it was. And when I saw it from behind,
I was shitting myself, Terence. Like I really was. Like I was like, Jesus Christ, this is a penalty. You know?
It's only when they showed it from down the line, so to speak, straight at the goal. How obvious it looked, and the referee was standing 10 yards away, 15 yards away, looking straight at it. I couldn't believe that he didn't give a penalty.
Davy Boy there said that it was the linesman that overruled the referee yesterday, Mark. The linesman overruled the referee. It was actually the linesman that gave the penalty. So why can't they do that every game? So the linesman, you know, getting more involved in the game.
But surely, Paul, it's the referee. Surely, if the linesman flags and he suggests that it's a penalty, surely the referee who's refereeing the match, he can overrule the linesman and say, "No, I didn't think that was a penalty."
Well, the referee's decision's final, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, Mark. Surely, if the linesman comes in and says that's a penalty, and the referee going, "Why do you think it was a penalty?" Oh, well, look, to be honest, from where I was, I didn't think it was a penalty. I thought his hand was by his side. We'll just say for argument's sake. So I'm not giving the penalty. Just because the linesman flags for a penalty doesn't mean the referee has to give a penalty. You know, the referee's the man refereeing the pitch, refereeing the game. If he feels he's seen the incident himself and he doesn't think it's a penalty, regardless of whether the linesman does think it's a penalty, it's like I suppose getting not to keep going off the sport. It's like going into the rugby, a TMO going, I think that's a try. I think that's whatever. I think it is a try. It isn't a try. Or I think he should have done this. I think he should have done that. The referee's the man who makes the final decision. I mean, if the linesman flags for a penalty and he thinks it's a penalty, and he says, well, listen, the referee's looking at it going, I don't think that's a penalty. I'm not going to give it.
But they're what Rob's saying as well. None of the Hibs players actually kind of were looking for it, weren't they? No, they didn't. The Hibs players didn't look for it.
And I'm surprised, Mark, because as I said, when I saw it, I just thought, oh my God, how did he get away with that one?
I think like, the thing was like, it was kind of more dangerous by Starfelt, like, because these are penalties that you see given. Do you know what I mean? It was a big risk, like.
Well, his two hands were on his back. That was the biggest problem. Even if someone might say, well, if he goes down easy or whatever, but if you got your two hands on an opposition inside on an opponent in your box, you're running a serious risk, especially in a Celtic player, of giving away a penalty.
I think that was more on Starfelt's decision making today, Terence, kind of losing the head within the game.
I really like Starfelt. I think he's been really good in the air. We all know he wouldn't be the most comfortable with the ball at the feet, but I always thought he was been excellent in the air. But as again, I keep going back to it, since that Ross County game the other day, when that fella came on and gave him the clatter, he was rattled beyond all belief. And I think teams have kind of sussed it and kind of gone, put a kind of a big guy on him, and kind of, I won't, like rough him up, so to speak. But you would expect the centre back, especially playing in Scotland, to know that the likelihood is he's going to have a centre forward. If there's a big centre forward coming on, he's coming on for a reason. He's coming on with, it's going to be a battle. He's going to be flying in. There's going to be arms. There's going to be legs. There's going to be elbows. There's going to be whatever flying in all directions. But you need Starfelt to be stronger. Even for the goal, Starfelt should have tried to be a bit more physical with your man O'Halloran.
Even when he went out to when Joe Hart made a save, Terence, from Nesbitt, when Starfelt went out to do the clearance, and he just totally miskicked the ball altogether. He was at the wrong side. Like it was really a poor performance by Starfelt today, and I think maybe the occasion could have got to him, but I would have taken Starfelt off today, and I would have ball on Welch. I thought that was the decision that Ange would have done.
I'd say the only reason they didn't, Paul, is because Celtic are so threadbare with players. He's probably thinking, I'm not going to take off a fit guy within reason to bring on another defender, because if we lose another player to injury, or if they take off, say they'd already taken off Turnbull, if they'd taken off, for argument's sake, Starfelt, who came off the pitch and he wasn't injured, and then someone else goes down and they have to take them off, say Kyogo Tweaks, and he's to come off, and then someone else goes down, because it looked like Mikey Johnson had pulled his hamstring at another stage of the game as well. I thought he was bad as well at one stage. Maybe that was probably the only reason, Paul, and probably thought, look, I just have to leave him in there. He's going to have to figure this out himself. He's a big boy.
But was that about with Mikey Johnson as well? Why did he get booked?
He got booked, Mark, because when he was substituted, he was on the far side of the pitch, and you know the way you can go straight off. You can go off if you're like when you're substituted, you can go off the pitch and you can walk around.
I bet he didn't know he'd been substituted.
Oh, he did. He was walking, and then he'd seen it, but he looked like he was walking, and then he kind of walked back over.
All right, I didn't think he knew he'd been substituted. I thought that's why he was just like walking about the park, looking about. I didn't think he knew. That
is the rules now, though, isn't it? You have to go off
at the nearest available spot, kind of thing.
Then if you're kind of.
That was the reason.
I didn't think. I thought he didn't know he was actually getting took off. That's why he just kind of plodded back onto the park.
But it is, Mark. Like it's could be another two injuries like Mickey Johnson and Turnbull. Like what I mean. It's really Taylor went off. Like we're really getting down to the bare bones. But I think with the Turnbull one, at least we can push McGregor into a more natural position and play a beat on there, because, like you said, it brings a more balance in the team. Left back, we have Montgomery or Scales that can fit in there, but I think
I'd like to get Scales in there, Paul, as well. Even for his height, it's set pieces and things like that.
I play Scales in left wing, Mark, because I know Scales can play left wing. Do you know what I mean? I play him there like Montgomery and Scales, like, but I think Montgomery struggled against Ross County the other night, Mark.
I think Scales adds a bit of height to the team, like the overall team for set pieces and that.
Yeah, it's needed. Like,
but they were talking about that Uragahide boy and that. But I mean, Ange came out before that game and said that this gives you a chance to see young players that we're going to be relying on as we move forward. And yet, they just keep vanished back. Do you get what I mean? It's
not even in the first team squad again, Mark. Or think like Shaw always seems to be on the bench.
At least he seems to be getting in and about the team. So he must maybe just waiting on it, like a chance kind of thing. But I mean, some of the other young guys have got to kind of, they've not let us down so far.
That was my point about the guys earlier on when I was saying it. If they're saying that they're asking the same guys to keep going to the well, if you've got two or three guys like a Shaw that can come in, like an Origi that can come in, you need to use them. Like if without repeating myself, but if they're not good enough to come in again at home, for argument's sake, or in the SPL away to St Johnstone, or home to St Mirren, or away to Dundee, or if they're not good enough, if he doesn't believe that they're good enough to do that, then you're filling the space, you're filling the spot and benches with two guys you have no intention of playing. I don't know whether I make sense now or not, but what I'm saying.
But that's what Mark was saying anyway. Mark was constantly saying that in the podcast, that we should be able to rest players, Mark, against likes of Dundee and St Mirren, and bring in the likes of Shaw and Orahidi. Do you know what I mean? And let them play in these matches,
Because it helps a progression in that, Paul. They're only going to get better playing in competitive games. And as I said, they've not let us down when we have called upon them.
No, so fairness to them.
Don't need to put a team full of youngsters kind of idea, but there's no reason why even like their Starfelt, maybe Starfelt take him out the firing line for a game Like, play Uragahidi in there. I've even said as well, play Ralston at centre back and see how we can do. But guys like Sean, that, get them into the team.
Regular break.
Aye, and even when we're game, see if we're sitting at 2-0 up or that, get them on then when we're controlling the game, we're in charge of the game, so they know how it feels to play for Celtic and be running games and things like that. There's no point of these guys just sitting in benches, Paul, and not getting any game time. Because we've seen it with umpteen young players over the last couple of seasons. They're just going to leave without us knowing what. Do you get what I mean? These players are leaving without us knowing what they're going to do, how good they're going to become, or how rubbish they are. Either way, but at least then we'll know. I mean, you're saying Luca, I think Luca Connell will still end up a real good player for somebody. And it should have been us.
Most definitely.
It should have been us.
When you see the two boys' performances, Mark, against in Europa League
Against Betis, aye.
Yeah, Betis, like Origidi looks like a monster. He's built like a tank, and I thought he had a cracking game. I thought
he wasn't afraid to go in for a tackle either, Terence. And anytime he went in for a tackle, he kind of got his timing right. He won the ball, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's another lad that you could say, say stick him in. He can play. I think he can play right back or centre back, if I'm not mistaken.
He played right back in pre-season, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and I think after the West Ham game, he kind of got whipped off, and he hadn't been seen since. But with the greatest respect, it was one, it was West Ham, and two, he had Barkas and goals, so it was a bad combination all around.
Mark, just there, what you said there about Scales, right? We're playing St. Johnstone on the 26th, and we know how physical and tough St. Johnstone are, 11 men behind the ball. Like that's an ideal game considering the injuries we have. Is the player like Scales' his height to give us a different option to have someone in the box to break down these teams, because that's what I'm screaming about. Like, we're putting balls into against Livingston, St. Johnstone's and Ross Counties. We're putting some sweet balls into the box, but there's no one there with height. Like, ideal game for Scales to be in that team for us. You know what I mean?
I'd still rather see him playing at left back and left wing right enough, Paul. But you've said you've seen him playing there, and that's good enough for him.
Yeah.
But I just overall, Paul, we've not got much height in the team at all. So if you've got a player like Scales sitting there, he's got to be an option. I don't see why he's not had more game time, Paul. Because again, he's never
I've been
like,
impressed with Mark since he came in. I have, like, you know what I mean? I know.
You're a bit of a fanboy, but I mean, for me, he's proven he is a decent enough player.
He is, like, and he's getting up and down that ring as well, and he does put in some decent crosses as well. Like our next two games now, right? Of St. Mirren, St. Johnstone. We've St. Mirren on Wednesday. We've St. Johnstone then on next Sunday, and then we've Hibs then on 29th. Like 3 quick games in a lot of days. Like Ange needs to kind of use the players Mark at his disposal. Like, and why not use Scales, Shaw, Urahidi? You know what I mean? I can't really see using Urahidi when we have Ralston and Jovanovic there, but I'd drop Abada and I'd put Jovanovic into right wing. You know, I really would.
I don't know about that.
It's a big call.
No.
It's a big call.
I'd bring Mikey Johnson over to the right, and I'd have Mikey Johnson on the right, and I'd give young Moffat.
That's what I'm saying, Terence. The option I'm saying that is, was Mickey Johnson kind of feeling the hamstring today again? Like, you know what I mean? You know.
Well, it could be just a case. It could be just a case, Paul, that guys like them, they just maybe the muscles tighten up because of the intensity they play at. But like, if, as I said, and I have been one of his worst critics, Mikey Johnson, but if he was fit, I'd be playing.
Do rest Kyogo for the next game? It's another question.
If Kyogo was in any doubt, I would. If Kyogo was in any doubt at all,
I would judge me, parents. You know.
You do at the same time. It's a stick or twist, because you can't afford to drop any more points before then either. You know what I mean? If Kyogo isn't fit to play, my opinion is I'd stick him on the bench, and if you needed him for the last 20 minutes, maybe you could bring him on. But I would go on what you were saying there. I definitely wouldn't be playing Juranovic on the right wing or whatever. I don't think he's. I think he's much better further back the park. Me, as I said,
what about Radisson? Because we've seen how far he can get up that pitch, and Radisson's distribution this season has been. I think Radisson's distribution has been the best in the club at the moment in putting balls and passes into the team.
It's a perfect option, because the one thing he's going to do as well is he's going to track back.
Yeah,
the guy,
exactly.
the runs of this, he's going to track back. He's going to follow their left wing. He's going to follow him back all day long. And his crossing has been superb.
He doesn't see. Thinking us about Radisson as well, like he doesn't seem to tire. Do you know what I mean? He just keeps going for the whole 90 minutes. Like he doesn't stop. Like a pure example of Ange's system is Anthony Radisson. We don't stop. We stop for half time. We go again. He's the perfect example, Mark, isn't he? Anthony Radisson of Ange's system.
He probably just jogs in the spot or during half time as well. He doesn't even stop for half time. He just stands there running.
Like, he just keeps going. Like energy level seems to be there all the time. Like, and
as soon as he came on the day, first thing he done was take a throw in. Did you see size of his arms?
Mm-hmm.
His arms were massive, Paul. Honestly, he's like a bodybuilder under that top, I think.
He is like the big bloke, like
rough.
You know what I mean? You know, I'd say he'd be nearly the most physical person we have in the team. I say, Mark, would be him and Vickers. I say,
aye.
Vickers is a big bloke as well. Like, you know what I mean? You know,
get them in a UFC octagon and see how they go.
You know, but like my main, like I just want to tip back to Abadaf for a minute there before we go, like, because I know he's young, like he's a young lad, he only came in, like, but it is really worrying how his form has really dropped, and it's not just the last couple of weeks. This has been, I say, Mark, for 2-3 months. I say, really hasn't it?
If he got injured,
you know?
Paul, mind he picked up the injury and he was there for a while.
He picked up, and I'm wondering, Mark, what has that been? What was that COVID related? You know, like, I need to check that, because
I'm sure you said that before, Paul.
Yeah, you know, I think he was caught in the COVID situation as well, Mark, and he hasn't been the same player since and I wonder, Mark, is he not up to full fitness either? And he has to play this so many games because of our lack of options really at the moment, Mark, isn't it? You know?
Well, if it's still it was that Paul, it's still affecting him, he shouldn't be playing.
No, you know what I mean? Because he's not even doing the runs.
No, as I said earlier, Paul, there was one day and I thought there was a through pass and I thought he's going to skin him, and it just...
I was reading up about that was his main strength, was running at the player. He loves running at the player.
Well, we've even seen it, Paul, earlier on the season, his actual burst of pace. We spoke about it with Mikey as well. His burst of pace was frightening, and he just doesn't even seem to have that. It's a strange one.
What's your take? Your take on the Terence?
Yeah, it's like Mark said. Like, I mean, he was one of those fellas, you watched him when he was first in, and over the first 10 yards, you're thinking, my God, this guy.
Yeah.
He used, like, if he was 2 or 3 yards behind the defender, if the ball was passed or behind the defender, he was 2 or 3 yards behind the defender. By the time he got to the ball, he seemed to be 2 or 3 yards in front of the defender. Like, he was over the 10-yard burst of pace. He was lightning quick, but like, it's not like, even in the games I've seen him since I said he's come back, he's not getting the ball and touching it down the line and relying on his pace that he's going to beat your man to the ball and he's going to whip it in. He doesn't seem to have that in his locker anymore, for some strange reason.
I know it might have some effect. I'm not saying it does. Like, I know Radisson bombs up and down the line, he overtakes him. But when we have that in the left, Yasser is looking to receive the ball back. And Abad's not even doing that. You get me? He's not even trying to get himself into space to look for the ball back. You get me? So there's something really kind of...
It's a different person, pre-injury to post-injury.
Yeah.
In regards to the way the guy's playing, and look, maybe it is, as you said, maybe there's a COVID COVID-related injury or illness or something there, and if it is, it's having a huge effect. But maybe I know I can understand what Mark is saying about he shouldn't be playing, and I can agree with him there on that one. But it may be a case that Ange has no option but to play him. That might be the other problem. Do you know what I mean? He mightn't just have. He may not. He might be the only recognised guy that can play through the middle with the injuries. Obviously, assuming Kyogo is okay now, but up to the point that there was no one else to come in to fill in there unless they decided to play Mikey Johnson in the centre role. And in fairness to the lad, he's not doing too bad a job at the wing, but he's definitely not a centre forward. He'd get eaten alive in the middle.
No, he's not. And I think we saw that last season, or was it the season before when he played up against Rangers, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was eaten alive when under Neil Lennon when they put him up centre forward in the Derby match in Ibrox. He didn't get a kick of the ball. So yeah, it could be just simply a case, Paul, that they don't have an option and they have to play about it. And you know, but he seems to be miles off where he was. Like,
sum it up how you're feeling, Mark.
We definitely need to get a striker in January.
Definitely.
Get a Yeti out the door and get another striker in.
It is. And I was only talking to Terence the other day about it, about J. Marcus, like all the talk we've heard about him, Mark. He seems to be out more times than he's playing, don't he? You know.
That's again just another strange one, isn't it, Paul? I don't as well. He wasn't training, but he wasn't training. It was the last team he was with, wasn't he, for a few weeks, and he wasn't playing, and then.
And that's actually a good point, actually, that Terence made in that, Mark. The three players who didn't have pre-season are the three players that are struggling consistently. Yeah, you know, because
it's just the same what we're saying, Paul. The intensity that and expects him to train it and expects the team to play it. It's just, I think it's just one hell of a shock to a lot of these player systems, Paul.
Oh, without doubt.
And that's why I don't know where.
And it just shows, Mark, how. And when me and you were on there last week, and I said it to you, that if Celtic would have known about Ange before this appointment, the best time to have taken in Ange was after Brendan Rodgers, when the players were at their peak in fitness. Do you get me? And Lennon's after taking that fitness down another level, so these guys are starting again.
If Ange should
never saw unfit under Neil Lennon.
If Ange should replace Rodgers, would have seen a kind of bit of continuity about that. Just probably the actual level with the overall standards, Paul. We even know as well that Ange just came in and changed the. I mean, Ronnie took pelters for Chopman changing the menu in the canteen, and you weren't allowed to eat this, and then Neil Lennon went back to his kind of way of doing that, and Ange just came back in and went back to the kind of no tomato ketchup. I don't know. For some strange reason, tomato ketchup seems to be one of the worst things in the world for you. Even as a diabetic, I've been told to avoid tomato ketchup.
It's full of
O'Connell, like, you know what I mean? Like, so in terms of Luke O'Connell going back 2 years, Mark, I say a lot of the first team went back 2 years as well under Neil Lennon. Beaton, Roderick. I mean, these players were nowhere near last season the way they are now. Do you know what I mean? Like, we had them sold, Mark. We said we didn't want Beaton because he's inconsistent. He's always injured and thing. Roderick, we said he's past this. Do you know what I mean?
But Beaton had became a centre back, Paul.
Yeah, and that's why he was getting criticism.
And as I've spoke about it consistently, Paul, when he's playing that CDM role, you can't fault Beaton. You know, I mean, even he's meant to be sitting covering defence, but he's up there and he's in the final third driving the team forward.
When did you see Beaton run with the ball?
I know.
Do you know what I mean? Run with the ball. And I was looking going today, and I saw Beaton run with the ball. I was like, Jesus, like, when's the last time we saw that, Mark? Like, that's what Ange's breathing into this team. Like, you know what I mean? You know, like, it's night and day compared to last season. Like, and within 6 months that he's there, Mark, like, I think, in my own opinion, like this is, winning this cup is huge. Like, for this team, like, considering where we were. We didn't even have a starting 11. What Terence said there.
No, look at our starting. Look at our starting teams during like some of the pre-season friendlies.
It's hard.
We couldn't even put out a team. Exactly. We couldn't even put out a team. We didn't even have players on the bench to put out a team.
We had beat on centre back against Hearts. We had Skpe was in goals. You know what I mean? Starfelt was literally after getting off a plane and going to Tynecastle. You know, but going back to your other point there, Paul, you were saying about Beaton and Rogic and all that. Again, it's going back to the thing. It's no coincidence that these guys were there for the pre-season.
Yeah.
Even if Ange, regardless of even coming in after Brendan Rodgers, if Ange had even come in when the Eddie Howe thing went pear-shaped, or when Eddie Howe was supposed to come in, he'd have probably
said that to you. I said that to you, Mark, about Rogic, that he said he was staying back, pulling out of all international football for the summer in Australia to concentrate on his fitness. So I think he actually kind of maybe knew that Ange was coming in, and he knew the type of manager Ange wants, and he knew he had to get his fitness levels up. You know?
It's a bit of conspiracy theory, Paul, because it doesn't tie you. It doesn't. No, I totally understand what you're saying. But it doesn't tie in with chasing Eddie Howe kind of thing, didn't it? No, because he came out with that when we were meant to be still chasing Eddie Howe.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did.
But fair play, he did come out. He did. I'll give you that. He did come out and say that he was staying, I think, to work on his fitness and that. But I mean, Rogic, even Beaton, you've got to say it. Ralston, they're like 3 new signings for us this season. It's like just completely night and day for what we've seen for them in the last few years.
Even Callum McGregor, Mark, without Scott Brown there next to him. You know what I mean? We're seeing the totally
class anyway.
You know, that's what I'm saying. But last season, Terence, we saw him covering Scott Brown. Do you know what I mean? We didn't see him push up or bomb up. But like today, we're seeing Callum McGregor control the game with the passing that we know he can do. Do you know what I mean?
We didn't see that last season. But Paul, when Turnbull was on the pitch, he's not up his.
No, he doesn't.
That's why I like Beaton, or as I say, any like Beaton or a McCarthy playing that CDM role, because it lets me.
That's his best role, Mark. No, it's not, because you see with Scotland, Mark, he's more of an advanced role. I mean, with Scott,
I can't even mind what it was I was watching. It was a video the other day, and see the amount of times that Callum McGregor was kind of wanting the name like what Paul Scholes used to do, arriving late in the box and score. Yes. And when was the last time he'd kind of done that? He does it with Scotland, as you said, Paul, but when does it last time he'd done that with Celtic? Mm-hmm. We need to get him there. See what we're saying there, but I keep saying it, I don't like Rogic and Turnbull playing in the same team. But McGregor and Rogic and McGregor and Turnbull, McGregor's got another dimension to his game than Rogic or Turnbull has, so they need that CDM in there for me to allow they to.
It does take the whole effect of it takes him out of the game, Mark, really, doesn't it? Callum McGregor, like, it takes him out of the game. Like, Beaton is a great passer of the ball. You know what I mean? Like, Beaton could pick out a pass.
Aye, long range, like mid-range, long range passes, aye. But I definitely prefer McGregor like that, pushing up that wee stage further up the park.
If you look at Mark, I was looking at it because I remember we discussed this once before on it. And if you looked at the position McGregor played, especially under the likes of Rodgers, he was in that forward position, because there was always there was Beaton and Brown, or there was Brown and Cham, or there was Brown and Armstrong. He was always nearly the number 10 position, McGregor, or he was a little bit on the left side, but he was always right up forward. Whereas now he's come so far back, his natural instinct was to be like, if the ball went over him, he wasn't worried because Brown or Cham or Beaton
that mindset is kind of still there a bit, so Terence, do you?
Well, it's not necessarily mindset. It's now his position. Whereas I felt in Rodgers' era in particular, he would have been much more of nearly a 10 role in that area. He's much more of a 6 or an 8 now position, as it says. He's a little bit. He doesn't have a tendency to get on front of the ball as much now as he would have before. And he would have been there, as Mark was saying, he would have been the late burst into the box. Certainly under the Rodgers era.
Just for any younger viewers tuning in, you can Google what a number 6 and a number 8 position is. Terence showing his age there a bit.
What Terence is saying there, Mark, do you think that maybe Callum McGregor being captain, that he wants to kind of do that kind of role, what Terence is saying, that number 6, number 8 role, to maybe have more control of the ball and the way we control our play.
Well, it might be just even. I mean, what age is McGregor now?
That's a good point. In fairness,
What
like,
age is he now?
29, 29 minutes.
Is he as old as that? I thought he was only. I thought he was a wee bit younger, but maybe it's just.
Maybe I'm guessing.
Just maybe it's his games just kind of progressed, like down
Mm-hmm.
that kind of route. Do you know what I mean? And that's just kind of the player he's became. But I would like to.
He
I
was
would
20
like to see him getting a bit more involved in and about the box, because we know they can score these goals.
oh, no doubt, yeah.
And I mean, even the day there was a few times the ball fell to Rogic and you thought, oh, have a dig at that, and he didn't. But a few years back, that was Callum McGregor that was there, and you were saying, oh, have a dig at that.
29.
But yeah, I do think it's the case of Mark that he because previously he had the guy the 4 guys I mentioned behind him. If the ball was lost, he wasn't, not that he wasn't worried about getting back. He wasn't as concerned. Whereas if he's forward now and he's with a Rogic or Turnbull, one of them or them playing, and the ball is lost, he knows there's probably only Beaton back there. So he's probably thinking in his mind, I can't sacrifice myself or, you know, push myself too far forward.
Maybe he's thinking then Beeson doesn't have the legs.
No, it's not that. It's not that at all, Paul. It's just to make sure that he's there to help out and cover.
Yeah.
I just think he's thinking I can't basically, I can't get myself ahead of the ball and all of a sudden they're on the break and I'm leaving just one number 6 there, and them charging. Look, I don't know what he's thinking, but that's what I would be thinking, because like if it's lost, you won't necessarily always see Turnbull if he's up there, or Rogic necessarily flying back, but McGregor is always back like a bullet to cover, you know.
Before we go, considering last season we dropped out of all cups early, the league was over early. For Celtic, Mark, to win the first trophy on season, what does it mean to you, and how are you feeling today?
I'm delighted, Paul. Really delighted. We struggled a bit at times during the game, but when the second goal went in, well, we kind of rode our luck. We're talking about that penalty, the saves Hart made and that, but just to get that trophy, the first trophy of the season, people can call it, oh, it's Mickey Mouse, this, whatever. That's
the trophy, Max.
That's the thing, Paul.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you get what I mean? See, if we want to win the treble, we needed to win this trophy today, and we've done it. Hey, we had a bad season last season, but we've bounced back and won the first available trophy that we can. And that's it. But I'm absolutely delighted, Paul. It's something for the fans, the fans to build on, the club to build on. There's going to be a feel good factor if we can win the derby in the second day. If we can win the January
at the moment, Mark, the team's going. You know what I mean? It's a good thing for the fans, like you said there.
If we can win this derby in the second day January, we'll be flying. And as I said earlier on, Paul, once we get some new signings in, this the winter break, let players get recuperated and fix all their hamstring injuries. But for us, we'll just go flying for the rest of the season. I'm really, really delighted, Paul. Really.
They can take a lend of my knee brace. Terence, yourself?
Yeah, same. It's fantastic. It's considering we're the doldrums we would have were in last year, watching the rubbish to where we are now. It's day and night, and it's brilliant for Ange. It's brilliant for the player, and it can only instill confidence in them. That's all it can do. Just to say to them, look, we can do it. We have done it. You know, and it'll just galvanise the team. And they look like a team. They look like guys who want to be with each other, who want to play with each other. It wasn't like last season where it looked so disjointed and so individuals, and even so much so down to the backroom staff. They have to be given a lot of credit as well. Do you know what I mean?
Special mention to John Kennedy, Paula.
But I give credit, Mark. I said it, Mark. I give credit where credit's due. Like, I mean, the turnaround in this whole, like, when I saw Kyogo's goal going in, and the final whistle tonight, and I saw Gavin Strachan and John Kennedy hugging Kyogo Now, we didn't see that last season.
No,
Do
but
you know what I mean?
no, but I noticed as well.
That's just the whole buzz around the whole atmosphere, Mark. Do you know what I mean? It's just what Ange just brought in, Mark, is...
No, I noticed as well,
just-
Paul,
just
was
not-
the subs. It's Gavin Stratton's telling the subs what today.
He's doing the subs.
That wasn't
Yes,
happening
he's
under
doing-
Lennon.
And he was doing that all the time, Mark. Gavin Strachan is doing what you said he was brought in to do. Show the player the positions, show them where they're supposed to go and what they're supposed to do. You know what I mean? He's not in the dugout. He's not. Mark, remember that season we saw Gavin Strachan down the dugouts. That's not.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what
the dugout. He's up in the stands with the players, showing the players what they need to do. Do you know what I mean?
Even if you look at this situation where I think it was Mikey Johnson was coming off and Kyogo was due to come off around the same time and they weren't sure. Like you could see Ange and John Kennedy were talking together. They were discussing it. There was someone else came into it. I don't know whether it was Steve McManus, but someone else came in. There was a discussion. It wasn't like last year where one fella was 5 yards over there shrugging his shoulders.
The other fella shrugging his shoulders at him or something.
One fella shrugging his shoulders and his hands in his pocket. Like you could see there's a team there, and you could see it at the end where Ange was, even with the trophy, he was like, they were like, "I'll take a photograph." He goes, "No, you'll take a photograph with all of us," and he called out the entire backroom team to be there for the photograph.
I mean, even when Ange won Manager of the Month, he had Kennedy and Strachan, and even folk took a pop at him out of that, of which he taken day to in, because probably Ange, I've said it before, and that Kennedy is supposedly a good coach. Stratton's supposedly good at what he does. Did Stratton knock back a manager's job just a few weeks ago to stay on doing what he's doing? So he knows. Ange must have said to him, "Here, no, I'm happy with the job you're doing." Do you get what I mean? And it's a team effort. I think Ange,
he's doing like
Lennon was
Gavin Strachan, the manager. No,
Lennon was probably a bit.
You know what I mean?
Lennon was probably a bit like your kind of Brendan Rodgers type of, oh, it's all me kind of thing. Whereas Ange's like, well, I couldn't do this without all these guys backing me and doing what I'm telling them to do and them helping me with things. And
that's what he said, Mark. That's what he said. He said that himself. Like, I need people in and around me who know these departments, and I would lean off them. Then he says, I know these departments myself, but I'm not an expert in these departments. Do you know what I mean?
Plus, there's obviously a massive level of trust there, Paul, from Ange as well.
That's what I'm saying.
And respect as well.
He doesn't come across as a fella that's gonna, stand idly by if people are trying to walk all over him. He doesn't give that impression. And if he thought any of the coaches were X, Y, or Z or whatever, like there's no way John Kennedy would have behaved last year or this year like he did last year with Ange, because there's obviously a respect there from the start. There's a bit of mutual respect there, and obviously a bit of trust and a bit of loyalty between them. Whatever. He obviously believes that the guys that are there, that he can work with them, and if he didn't, I would have imagined he would have looked to bring in his own guys, at least one of them a long time ago. So he did think that's going to try him and see.
The whole problem around Kennedy is because there was so much disconnect around the whole club last season by the backroom staff and the first team, and like you could what Terence was saying there, like you could see the two managers that either side of the dugout last season. Do you know what I mean? Kennedy and Lennon, they weren't even kind of discussing things.
No,
do you know what I mean?
No, there was no kind of connection at all with them. They never looked as if there was a connection in the dugout or nothing.
And now you see Gavin Strachan not even in the dugout. He's up in the stands showing the players what they need to do when they come on. Do you know what I mean? Like that's proper management, Mark. Him and letting the coaches do their job. And then he'll have the final word. Then maybe he's a booster, or you know what I mean, go on here now, do what you need to do, and follow the instructions by the coaches. I
still think I should maybe probably bring in a guy yourself, unless he has just I don't know, totally clicked with John Kennedy. We don't know, because it seems to be working anyway so far. But I think, I still think if he did want to bring in his own man, just even his own number two, I don't think the board would have a problem with that. We've spoke about how the board need to back him come January and transfers and that. I don't think there's any doubt of that. And unless it was something totally miles out. I don't think the board would actually turn down any kind of suggestions and brought to them, Paul. I really don't.
Like I was even thinking to myself the other day, does John Kennedy actually want to be a manager? Is he happy being an
We've
assistant?
spoke about that before
Do you
as
know what I mean?
well, Paul. A lot of guys,
Because-
a lot of guys prefer are happy being in the kind of coaching side of things without the pressure of actually being the main man. I mean, we spoke as well before about Liam Brady. I mean, imagine me, Liam Brady, in charge of the Celtic Academy for all the years he'd been in charge of Arsenal's.
Wow.
And we've said as well, Liam Brady, Celtic played great football under Liam Brady as well. So it's just certain guys have got certain kind of roles. I mean, we spoke as well about like Van der Sar and Mark Overmars at Ajax. Who would have said that Mark Overmars and Van der Sar would,
Exactly. And Manchester United now was screaming to get him, man.
Aye, do you know what I mean? Just guys,
Screaming to get Van der
I mean,
Sar.
you would never have thought for a minute that you'd have seen them maybe getting into management and chancing their arm, but they've just kind of bypassed that and into a kind of higher level. And well, fair dues, it's a bit of a different gravy at Ajax because they're like a dominant team out in Holland, but that's the kind of level Celtic should be looking at, Paul. We should be looking to be like the Ajax or the PSG of Scotland, just never mind all this kind of...
We really need, Mark, to go back to producing our own players again, don't we? You know, getting young players into the squad, producing our own players, and you know, because I can't remember the last time I saw a young player come into the Celtic team that dazzled me. You know,
no, but they're not
Been a
all,
while,
they're not all going to dazzle you, Paul.
Mark, but able to step up to the challenge, like Welsh now is doing a good job.
Well, I still honestly think we do all right. We could do it a lot better, but what was it? Was there no six academy players in the squad the other night?
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, at a club like Celtic, where fans demand we buy players and why are we not signing? Why are we not signing Ibrahimovic and things like that? I mean, for fans that have got that kind of expectation, Paul, that we should just be spending money to have 6 academy players in a squad. I think we're doing well, and maybe heading a wee bit more towards that kind of direction.
It'd be good. It'd be good to see if Celtic could ever get a situation where maybe they probably have. I don't know, but someone from the sporting side of it to go and basically spend time at Ajax and see how their template is, and look at say, okay, this is the way we do it at Celtic. Let's see how
Chelsea do it, didn't they? Chelsea do it, didn't they? Was it not Chelsea? Sorry, Klopp sent all his when he took over Liverpool, and he brought some of his German coaches with him as well and stuff. But he actually sent his English-based coaches off to Borussia Dortmund to see the structure that he left in Borussia Dortmund, Klopp.
It'll be very interesting to see, Paul, how a club in similar makeup like Celtic with Ajax, how they differ and do things differently to how Celtic do things, especially with their academy setups and the way they just churn up players. They're like a factory where young guys just coming through. And it'd be very interesting to see how they do that, and if Celtic could try and implement obviously certain aspects of it into the Celtic way, and see if that would help them to improve player.
I can see, I think Klopp is the best man out there at the moment in terms of football. The way, and I can see kind of similarities now between Ange and Klopp is that Ange has our youth system, and you saw it as well, Mark, that the Colts team are playing the same system as the first team. So they're playing the positions that they're ready to come into the first team. Klopp has the exact same thing in Liverpool, and
but Ajax don't do that, Paul.
No, Ajax.
If you're going through Ajax youth academy, Paul, you're learning to play left back, you're learning to play right wing, you're learning to play centre. Do you get what I mean?
Every position, yeah.
And see the thing about it as well, what Terence is saying, I do agree with you, Terence, but we're getting back to how fickle Celtic fans can be. If you sell Ajax sell a player for 25 million, 30 million, whatever, and either bring in a
Yeah, exactly. Like
either bring in a
they have another player then.
Aye.
Yeah, another player to come into that position, Mark, don't
It's
they?
either if another player to come into that position, or they'll do what Celtic do, maybe spend £4 or £5 million on that player.
Yeah.
Their fans accept that, whereas a lot of Celtic fans don't accept that. You know what I mean? If it's right, it's like we sold Kieran Tierney, and probably for the next 20-30 years, every Celtic left back's going to be compared to Kieran Tierney. Just like years ago, every Celtic full back was compared to Danny McGrain. It depends on your generation. So Celtic, if Celtic sell these players, they're looking. A lot of the fans are looking for, oh, we need to spend big money to replace them. Whereas the Ajax fans and the club stick by the ethos, say, no, we'll just keep producing our own players. And I've said it before, that's a lot of young players at Celtic, it's really, really hard for them to accept it with a lot of the support, because they just expect to. It's just every mistake a Celtic player makes pure. We're talking about Starfield, he's not a young player, but he had a poor game today, and that's him again. Rubbish, he's not good enough to play for Celtic.
Isn't far away either, Mark, I believe, isn't he? Young Dembele.
I don't think you. I don't think he'll be here next
season.
I don't think he'll be here next year. And there's another. He's another one that's just. I know. Because he's the kind of player you would look to and you'd like to see thrive under.
He would have thrived under Ange. I think he would have, because
I mean,
I saw him in pre-season.
Maybe Ange can turn his head a bit and get him to sign a new contract to stay on. Maybe we're talking about players like maybe Luke O'Connell have lost 2 years of their kind of career. What's Dembele lost between Neil Lennon and between his injury? Because Neil Lennon told me would be part of the squad.
And then didn't have him there, right?
No, but again, Paul, it's hard to put a young player into a squad that's struggling. Because then he becomes a kind of he's a target. Everybody's.
In a way, then you could see that kind of Lee Lennon was kind of protecting him, so Mark.
In a way he was, Paul, because if he this guy's a wonder kid, we're drawing nothing each with Livingston or whatever, get this wonder kid on, and then he doesn't do anything. It's what's he not doing that? He's meant to be brilliant, and it just piles on more pressure. It's easier to bring young players into a winning team than it is a team that's struggling.
That's it for tonight, lads. Terence, do you want to add anything before we go?
No, just a marvellous day, to be honest. Marvellous day today. The first, hopefully, of many more trophies for Enge, and delighted for him, delighted for the players, delighted for the support, just everyone. It's just great. It's great to see Celtic back where they rightly belong. Simple as that.
That's us another trophy closer to being the most successful team in the world as well.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But is it four short, is it now?
What's that, Mark? Yeah.
No, four. Well, Rangers, they're the most successful team in the world according to them, isn't they? I think it's only 3 or 4 behind we are now. So we'll see if they're saying that when we overtake them next season.
As the song went from the 90s, he's beating Japan, but now he's beating Glasgow. Kyogo was the star of the cup final today with 2 stunning strikes, delivering Celtic the first trophy of the season. Thanks to Terence for coming on. Thanks to you guys on the live chat for joining us. Hopefully again we'll be back on Thursday night for the St. Mirren reaction if you want to join us. Mark will now close the show.
Right, thanks very much, Paul, just for everything you do on here and behind the scenes. Terence, thanks very much again for coming on, mate. It's always good to hear you. Thanks everybody that joined us on the live chat. Bobby, Rab, United Islands, sitting there steaming, singing to himself somewhere in Glasgow probably. Just really appreciate all the support. Remember, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and if you know how, please leave a comment. Hail, hail, and God bless. Good night.
Right, lad. Thank you.